What's up, Reloaded YouTube listeners? This week, our stream blew up on Twitch. We had to restart the entire stream in the middle of it. There was all kinds of lag. It was really bad. It took about 15 minutes. People in chat that stayed in chat, I really appreciate it. It was just a whole messed up broadcast. It was completely scuffed beyond all recognition. The Twitch VOD is completely unusable. It's foobar. So therefore, I still wanted to put it up on YouTube. So I did something a little weird. I'm using the audio version of the podcast, the finished version, and I'm going to put video on top of it. The day after we recorded, I ran a TBC beta Karazhan with Josh Corbett, Ale, Willie, Mad Season, Mel, got Corpse, who's been on the show before, and it was a blast. And so I'm going to put footage of that on top of the audio version of the podcast. And I'm kind of excited for people who have only checked out the podcast on YouTube, because you'll kind of get a taste of what the audio version is like and the things that I do to kind of spruce that up a bit. And I'm excited that you get to see that. I know people that probably enjoy the video version might not like this because they come there for, the facial reactions or the bloopers or just the weird zany stuff that we do during the live cast. So I apologize, but this is the only way I could actually get it out to YouTube without it just not coming to YouTube at all. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoy, and please like and subscribe.
You're listening to a Mash Those Buttons production. Visit us at mashthosebuttons.com.
Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and today we're joined by two usual suspects. How are you doing, Mel?
Sorry, I'm doing great, though things laggy, just so you know.
Oh, the stream is?
Yeah.
Seems good on mine.
I was typing blame Bobby while you introduced me. That's why I wasn't listening.
Oh, gotcha. All right, well, we're also joined by Ryan, a.k.a. Cognitive Pit. How you doing?
Doing really good. I got vaccinated today, and weirdly, I have this urge I really want to buy store mounts in Classic WoW all of a sudden after my vaccine.
Oh, God.
No one's been talking about that side effect, but here we are.
Well, we'll definitely get into that a little bit later in the show, but we're also rejoined by Duranasaur, who was on episode 14 talking about his dungeon speedrunning movement in Classic WoW. Welcome back to the show, Duranasaur.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Happy to have you. You got a new mic. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm no longer doing the gaming headset mic where it sounds like I'm talking through a tin can. So that's good.
Awesome. And for the first time on the show, we have Winky Potamus. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm also looking forward to buying some store mounts in Classic WoW.
Yeah, okay, cool. I just saw something in your background that made me want to ask a question, but sure. I have it in your interview for later in the show, so I'm going to wait.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, so this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit of news. We're going to talk about store mount. We're going to talk about drums, and we're going to talk about Karazhan today, because two of these guys ran the most recent Karazhan raid test. Then after that, we're going to get to know Winkypotamus just a little bit, and then we're going to talk TBC dungeon speedrunning. So strap in, let's go, and yep, we had a new review.
Yeah, so this is a review from T-Dog2 Clash, which is a long username, but thanks for the review. It says, back into WoW. Hey guys, first wanted to say I love the podcast. I stopped playing WoW around Kata, presumably, and I was never that great, but had a great love of the game. I recently bought a PC and last week decided to step back into Classic, and I have loved it. It's great to have a podcast to be able to learn all of the things that I forgot. I was never able to get into raiding back in the day because I was just a kid, but I can't wait for TBC and hopefully doing just that. I look forward to all the tips I get from y'all. Thanks so much for your review, and you'll definitely be able to. That was my Classic experience as well too. I rated up to maybe BWL. Maybe I think I got kicked out of a guild. I've told the story before on the podcast, but I got kicked out of my basically own guild from being so bad at AQ. So I understand, but it's a great time to jump back into Classic rating. And whether you're not you want to hop into that end of Nax train, which is definitely possible, or just start up in TBC, I think you'll have a lot of fun.
Awesome. And thank you so much for the review. So I'm going to skip what we've been doing lately in WoW because I think this is going to be a big episode, unless any objections.
Well, I wanted to talk about Nax for just a quick moment.
Okay.
Just a quick story.
Do we have to?
Yes. So on Tuesday, I get a message from Bingo, maybe 2 hours before raid time, maybe an hour before raid time. And BingoJones texts me and says, "Oh shit, it's raid night tonight, isn't it?" And so he's no buffs at all. Shows up to raid. I don't know if he maybe inebriated, maybe he just woke up. No one can quite get the story straight. But he makes it through
Pretty
Frogger
sure he was
fine.
hammered.
Yeah, that's my suspicion too. He makes it through Frogger fine. But we get onto the pipe going into Gluth. And he falls off it, which is awesome. Just falls to the ground and dies to the slimes that are from Grobulus still up. Then he gets summoned. No, wait. Did he get revived?
He gets rezzed.
Yeah, right. He didn't get summoned. He gets rezzed up. And then he jumps off again. He flies right off the pipe right after getting summoned. That was a great time. And then finally at Gothic, and this part was just sort of a side of the pipe situation. At Gothic, we tell him to go to the dead side, and he just books it out of the room. Like, he had no idea where he was. He left the boss room. We're like, no, come back over here. So I talked to him today. I was like, what the hell happened on Tuesday? He rebound his push to talk key on Discord to middle mouse button, which by default in WoW is run. So he was trying to talk on the pipe, so he ran off. And then when he got rezzed, he tried to thank whoever rezzed him and just ran off again. And that was what happened. That was the bingo special from the other night. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I thought he was just hammered, but I guess there is some explanation here. But
maybe.
I do have a similar story, if I can interject.
Yeah,
it was me that did it.
Your guild's bingo. That's great.
Absolutely. So it happened in phase 1. We were going to do our first Onyxia raid, and we were all standing there buffing up and getting ready to pull. And I set my beer down on my auto run button and ran directly into Onyxia, which wiped everybody's buffs.
No.
So I got a lot of crap for that. And I didn't learn my lesson because later in the same guild, in the same raiding scenario, I did it again with the same situation. This time I think it was a White Claw. It's my fault for drinking White Claw. And I put it down on my auto run button and I ran in front of the Cthulhu door and wiped our whole raid and our world buffs.
You need a slightly bigger desk is what I'm...
It's a big desk.
Or a new
really
keybind.
Want your drink very close to you.
Your auto run key needs to be in like the middle of your keyboard.
Yeah. After the second attempt, I unbound it. Now, I told them after the first time it happened that it had unbound. So I had to make up a lie as to why the second time it happened, it happened again. So I told them the second time I just said I was strafe running and jumped and I landed in front of the door.
I would hold a grudge against you. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I remember everything stupid somebody does. Like, people will say like, hey, you know, that time you like gave a bad presentation and you're thinking about it at night. No one remembers that. I do, and I'm laughing about it or I'm mad about it. We had someone in our guild shrink ray Ragnaros on our second week. And I never forgot that we wiped to Rag because we couldn't hit him because he was shrink raid. And it's just these sort of things. I'm always like, it would take me till phase 4 to forgive you. I'd be like, this is the guy who auto runs into Onyxia.
And then by the time you forgave me, I would have already auto ran into Cthulhu.
True.
Perfect.
It would have been the second you auto ran into it, you'd be like, you did this to an Onyxia on phase 1.
Yep.
It's just like then. I knew we should have
He brings up the day, the time.
Oh. So one other thing, actually, I do want to kind of mention because it was super interesting to me. So we had the worst Nax run we've ever had in our entirety of our guild. Everything just fell apart. It was a literal shit show. But we had the weirdest thing happen on Hagen the Unclean. So our tank has never messed up the boss kiting rotation. But for some reason this week, everything was off. We get to quadrant 3, and instead of going to quadrant 4, he goes back to quadrant 2. And I'm standing over there, and I'm like, guys, did I just miss? We were in 4 or something? And then I'm standing there in the safe area, and I see almost my entire raid get hit with the juice. Nobody died.
Is that what it's called?
The juice.
I know.
The juice.
That juice.
Yo, he got the juice.
But yeah, nobody died. So
Wow.
I don't know if that's that change
It
that they
has to
talked
be.
about with the double things.
The double juice. Yeah, so it used to be that like starting standing in certain places,
Just
you
call it
just get
slime.
double hit and you would just get killed instantly. And that happened to us all the time. Like if you weren't greater nature protection potted, one would always kill you. It was pretty
I
crazy.
have never died to Hagen's dance.
Now it doesn't.
Aren't you?
Listen. You don't have to do it when it's
Do
easy
you have to
now.
dance very often?
Not typically.
Not
so we had
often,
lost
no.
all our
Okay.
world
At
buffs
the
at this point.
beginning, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning we did, but we haven't for weeks. This wasn't during the dance. This was during the kite.
Yeah.
And he just literally took him back one quadrant too early, and
That's
I watched the
big.
entire raid besides me get hit, and nobody died.
Which you have to give it up for our entire raid except for Bob, because our inherent trust in our tank, even though we all knew he was wrong. Like when he didn't move to that 4th quadrant, I was like, this is not right at all. But I figured I'm going down with the ship, you know? If our tank wants to be in the wrong one, I'm gonna stay there too, I guess. I'm DPSing.
Did he correct and go back to the 3rd one after
He
that?
got real confused.
Yeah, we corrected. Yeah, so he had to go back. We had to stand still after we got hit, and then we were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it ping pongs back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm a warlock.
What do you guys do, Hagen, before the slime even comes up? You guys kill an Hagen in 10 seconds?
I know. I felt very judged by Duranasaur there. He was like,
Well, no, I'm not.
"Wait,
Oh,
I'm kidding.
man.
I'm kidding."
I just assume you guys kill it before the range dances.
We do
we
now.
we have
Yeah.
for several weeks. It was just this was a complete just horrible night. But
That happens.
For some reason, though, Hagen took us a really long time to figure out, and so did who's the other one? Gluth, the one that
we didn't-
decimates.
The reason we didn't have world buffs is
I
because
don't
we
know.
wiped on Gluth on Tuesday. So it
Ooh.
actually didn't. We just had the main tank and then myself, who I'm a 3rd tank. I don't really consider myself a main tank, but we both just got absolutely demolished by Gluth. I don't know. I actually didn't go check the logs. Somebody mentioned that he just didn't receive healing over 9 seconds or something and died.
Yes,
and then
'cause
I
the
got
healer
absolutely
sucked.
destroyed. I think I might have gotten parry hasted because I was full mitigation and I still got crushed in like 1 second. So that just happened. Then he went everywhere, and there's just no one ready as like a 3rd backup on Glitch just in case we both die. That just wasn't a thought.
I heard there was other reasons, but I didn't look at it, so I don't know for sure. So I'm not going to mention it here. But if you want to know, I can tell you after the podcast.
I've got the down low.
Let's move on to time for the news. More evidence of the Burning Crusade Classic Deluxe Edition rewards. TBC mount coming to TBC. Basically a store mount. I don't even know where to start with this. Does anybody want to talk about how they feel about it?
I want to start
Go ahead.
by arguing with you. It is not a store mount. It is a collector's edition cosmetic reward, which I do want to be clear is a very different thing than a $20 mount in a store. Getting a collector's edition reward has always been in Blizzard's policy. I don't know. It's been something of Blizzard for even before World of Warcraft even came out. Collector's editions of games existed. I'm not personally advocating for it, but it is very different than a $20 mount on the store. That is all I have to start out with.
But it would definitely be different. I would agree with you if it came with some sort of physical things like all the other collector's editions that I bought up to Wrath came with.
Okay, I don't want to argue semantics of it. Does Winky or Duranasaur have like an opinion on it other than semantics?
I think you were arguing semantics.
I wanted to say my semantic piece and then be done with it.
I'll mirror what Mel was about to say, and it's 2021. There's no physical copies of anything anymore, right? And
Right.
I'm right there with you
Very true, very true. I don't own a physical game for years now.
because I've got my Burning Crusade collectors right there, and I'm gonna have my Netherwhelp out as a pet when I play TBC Classic, and I don't see anything wrong with something that doesn't affect player power.
I agree. That's my
Yeah.
vote. Is if it doesn't, I don't care. If you want to spend your money and give it to Blizzard and they stop asking me for more money, then cool. Like, you want to put in your effort, fine. But I think the only difference that people could complain about, and again, it doesn't bother me, but people could complain that before you would either buy the collector's edition or you would buy the regular edition, right? Now you only have the option to buy the regular edition, you get the other for free. So it becomes more of a store item because it's always available to you to buy as a collector's edition item, but you already have the game. Like, you weren't going to pay $60 for the game and then 6 months later be like, I really want the mount. I'm going to pay another $70 to get the mount. Like, that was a choice you had to make at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that one. That's a solid point.
Yes.
Duranasaur, what do you think?
So I got to listen to you guys talk about this with Melderon and Ale. I think that was the first time it came up, was this potential for like cosmetics in the shop and stuff. And I actually agree with Mel, that if it doesn't affect your like abilities within the game, if it's purely cosmetic, I don't really have an issue with that kind of stuff. Like, I'm fine with store-bought mounts. Like, retail has all kinds of cosmetics that you can buy. I would never pay for them. I'm not into cosmetic stuff, but it doesn't affect me, so it doesn't really bother me all that much. But I also understand where people like Melderon come from, who are just like, no, this should never exist because it sort of taints the game. Like, it gives people something special that they just paid money to get. Instead of actually working for it within the game. So I understand that dynamic to it. But at the end of the day, as long as you're not buying a character boost, as long as you're not buying something that eliminates you having to play the game or achieve something in the game, or it gives you power in the game, like, then it doesn't faze me.
I would argue that so hard against Def Camp, though. You have no idea. Like, tell that to the people with pandas and Diablos running around in Classic right now,
Yeah, I'm not really against it either, to be quite honest. Like, if it was Classic WoW and you could get an epic riding mount for money rather than spending the 1,000 gold that it costs, I think that would be a pay to win type of thing.
Yeah.
But the costs are changed. As long as you can't buy that mount and then it gives you epic riding, right off the bat, then I don't think it's a problem because mounts really don't cost a ton. What I would like to see is what Ale brought up. I would have rather this have been a reward, but they could still put this in as a reward with a color variant. They could have a different colored one that's a reward for certain things in the game. And I think that would be a cool way to kind of mitigate the anger at it at the same time.
That would be cool.
No, then they'll just complain that you can buy it in a different color, and they'll be like, "You're just gonna give me the bot mount in a different color?"
Because the systems in WoW work against what you're talking about, and I'll explain. Assuming that we are not all like I only play TBC. I don't care about other expansions. Assuming that we care about Classic as a whole, I think that there is a huge difference between a collector's edition and store mounts. So purchasing as many cosmetics as you want is very different than like one mount being available for purchase at the beginning of an expansion when it releases. Because one, it's like, okay, I understand.
At the beginning, though.
It's a modern world. It's basically at the beginning. I mean, you can upgrade collector's edition of vanilla right now if you get a key. I mean, that's how it works in retail too. But it's like it's just a lot of money now. So for me, the problem is the amount of these things. What's the coolest mount that exists in Classic WoW right now? Maybe a ZG mount. The Winter Saber is pretty good if you're on Alliance.
Baron Rivendare's.
Baron Rivendare is probably, Baron Rivendare. Yeah, wow. So there is a handful of unique mounts that are not just your racial mounts in vanilla WoW. So getting an immediate, this is by far the coolest mount that exists in Classic. We might think differently because we've been exposed to different things or have nostalgia. Maybe Nether Drakes are really cool, but those come in TBC. This mount is the most amazing ground mount. So it is lame that you can get a better than existing ground mount that's in game. But again, it's not for $20 on a store. It's for a collector's edition. But if there were 10 mounts up there, then that would be a problem. And maybe we could have a conversation about Slippery Slope if that was a situation. But because it's just collector's edition, I don't even think we need to talk about like Slippery Slope. It really is just a one-time purchase. But I think that one of my main issues going into retail right now is that there's just too much stuff. It looks like a Korean item mall game. I'm just like, people are flying around on pirate ships and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't feel at home in the game. So I think that there is a line that exists that isn't just, fuck it, who cares? It doesn't affect gameplay. Because to some people, collecting unique things in game is gameplay. To us, maybe it doesn't matter as much, but I was a mount collector for a long time. And something that happens in Wrath is achievements. And the mount achievements are literally just the amount of mounts that you have. So by adding more mounts into the game, you're diluting what that achievement is. By adding, like you said, like maybe different skin or different skin variations of this like Bible mount, you're just multiplying that issue. If there's 10 new TBC mounts, well, that 50 mount achievement is really not worth that much anymore come Wrath. So there definitely is a line somewhere that it matters. I just don't think the collector's edition is just so little that it's just, it's nice. I want to give money to the game that I enjoy. It's 2021. There's going to be some additional stuff to TBC. We're not at no changes anymore. So I think a little bit of this stuff is totally okay. But too much of it, you end up feeling alienated from a game that you're familiar with.
Something came up in that conversation that made me think. I've never seen an alliance on Whitemane with the Baron mount. I might have seen a horde with it, but I can't tell the difference. So I've never seen an alliance on our server with that mount. Does it exist in Classic?
It does.
I've seen one in this whole time of being in Classic, yeah.
I don't know if I've seen any. It's that low of a drop chance. Mm-hmm. It's that rare. Which is, that's a super cool thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that's undeniably awesome for sure.
There was always like different stories too. There was always like different stories about how you had to get it, right? Like they'd say like, well, you have to run it in less than this amount of time. Like all these different things that changed every week. It felt like
legend.
But that's the best part of Classic. That's why I love Classic WoW is there's communities. Your server is your community.
Yeah.
And if somebody has that mount on your server, you know who has it and you know how they got it and the story of, you may have never even talked to him before, but like that's just what it is, right? That's just classic WoW, and that's the best part.
I think highlights an issue that happens in retail later. I got my Baron mount on retail through the system, the looking for group system. They used to give tanks an extra goodie bag. Maybe starting in Kata and Mists of Pandaria, they'd give you a little extra goodie bag with like some gold and consumes and a chance at a rare mount. And I got Baron Rivendare's mount out of a goodie bag. And as a mount collector, there was just no reason not to just spam tanks because you could get these insanely rare mounts from these bags. So they're definitely like that sort of thing. You know, there is an argument where cosmetics can dilute that special feeling. It's not this and what's happening now, but there's some nuance in there.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Yeah.
I saw a YouTube video recently. We've talked about it here on the show, but I was told it was Wrath. But I wonder if you guys could shed some light on it, because I saw a YouTube video. I'm not going to name names in case he's wrong, but most of the things that I've heard from him, I pretty much trust. And he says that the Halloween mount is in TBC, and it came in later TBC, so it should be in early. And I was like, I was told by a bunch of people on this podcast that it wasn't.
It's confusing because the way you get the mount is in TBC, but I think that there's just no mount until Wrath because it's a flying horse. That's like definitely not in TBC, right? Like I
don't remember it ever being in TBC. I remember trying really hard in Wrath to get it.
But the event is in TBC, right? That's why it's so confusing.
The event is in TBC. There's the helmet that you can get that like does the laugh and stuff, but I don't think that the mount is in. I'm gonna try to do a little research here, but I don't believe it's till Wrath.
While you research that, on the random topic of things that I want to see in TBC, I want to see level 70 Elite Tauren Chieftain touring again.
I know. I want the concert.
Oh, yeah.
All right, 2.4.3. Apparently the mount comes right at the end of TBC. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So it might be in.
That's one of the coolest mounts in the game.
Interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. I tried for it every year that I played WoW so many times. Never got it. Never saw it drop to anybody else either. That would be an amazing mount to get.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. That is really high tier.
Is it the Headless Horseman mount?
Yeah, the Headless Horseman's Charge or whatever it's called. Another cool one is the Attunement mount.
Yeah.
From Terra.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly though, right?
No. I think it has the same model though.
Yeah.
It's just like colored
It just doesn't have the
differently.
wings and stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then there's the mount that you get from the Druid's shape-shifting flight form quest.
Oh, that's my favorite ground mount. I think that's my favorite. Anzu, the Reigns of the Ravenlord mount.
That's a cool mount.
That's such a good mount.
See, so I mean, this mount's not going to be the best. I still think Tony the Tiger is better than this mount, but we'll just have to see.
You know what I want to see if I'm going to get is I don't know if it was TBC or Wrath of the Lich King, but I had bought the booster packs of the Warcraft trading card game. And I got the area, whatever, something X-52 Nether Rocket.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last
And I was
weekend.
wondering, I wonder if I still get that in TBC. Or was it in
don't.
Wrath?
They actually confirmed that you're not going to get any of those trading card game rewards. And they're actually going to, they ominously said they're going to rework that tune for another purpose. So we'll just have to wait and see what they do with that. Rumors that will be some, or maybe that's not rumors. Maybe somebody came up with that here, but somebody said something about Hearthstone decks.
They'll be in item shop mounts.
Oh yeah. No, I said it would be nice if someone in guild, maybe Jasmine mentioned this, but tying it with Hearthstone and having like Hearthstone packs have a chance to get TBC mounts, like that would be kind of genius, but I just don't think the teams work together that strongly. When was there a cross promotion that strong other than like, hey, Tracers and Heroes of the Storm now? Like other than that sort of thing, they don't usually like cross promote games that hard, I feel like.
Yeah, they did a little bit in Overwatch. We had to get skins by playing Heroes of the Storm, so I fuddled my way through that.
There's like the Zergling pet and the like little mini Diablo pet, which I think, I mean, they were just like little references to the other games, but never anything that was straight up like, hey, if you do this thing in WoW, like it's going to directly correlate to like you playing the other game.
Well, I mean, they did do that with Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm. They actively, you'd get skins in Overwatch for doing things in Heroes of the Storm. I don't know about other games, but that was definitely a thing. I think I had Little Diablo. I think that was a BlizzCon reward or something like that. But we've went on a tangent for this. Let's move on to the more important topic. So Blizzard finally changes drums to actually, in my opinion, make sense. This is what I've been asking for since the start. It's what I'm also asking for with Shaman. But they changed drums to have a tinnitus debuff. So anybody who gets the effect from the drum is going to be on a 2-minute cooldown, same as the drum cooldown. So there'd be no reason for more than one person to have drums in each group.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is the first thing we said they should do. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're still keeping the crappy drums though, so
yeah, with the 8-yard range.
Yeah, they double nerfed it. I probably would have rather them just kept the old, the new drums, the good ones, and just done this from the start. But who wants to jump in?
So first of all, they had the change implemented for the beta today, right? So in Karazhan today, when we were doing it, we had people in groups that had drums, and it actually like it caused a couple problems because some people like accidentally popped drums early, like before a boss pull, and then it was like, oh well, now we're all on a 2-minute CD. But it was interesting because I think I share the same opinion as you guys, where I think it's a good change for the game because I think that it removes the need for any serious player to like have to have leatherworking. But when I was doing my run today, I got to do it with some of the more hardcore, like private server TPC guys. And like all of them basically said, oh, it's sad that they made this change because now we can't be as sweaty. We can't like min-max as hard.
You were in Crix's group, right? I think he's always been a proponent of really wanting drums.
Yeah. So yeah, that whole crew, they wanted it because, and I kind of get it. And I had this same conversation on my stream the other day. Like if you left it the way that it was, you give an advantage to people who are willing to go that extra mile. And by taking it away, you like lower the ceiling, the potential ceiling of what players can actually do within the game and how hard they can push. So I understand that viewpoint, but at the same time, if you're removing it from everyone before we even start, it's still an even playing field to a certain extent. I don't know. I think it's good. I wasn't looking forward to saying like, hey, we want to have like a couple of hardcore raiding teams. That means 20 of the 25 people have to have leatherworking, which basically means everyone has to have leatherworking because we'll mix and match. So for that point, just for like the people point of it, right? Having to deal with raiders and a guild and say like, hey, you guys can actually have your professions back, at least one of them, a lot of you anyway.
Right.
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's how much does it seep into the normal player base?
Right.
Because, like Flask of Petrifications for speedruns are super neat, and exactly 0 casual guilds are using any strat that requires that. Or, there's not 40 engineers in a casual guild, and the benefit that you get from it is so tiny that no one would ever ask their entire raid guild to do that if you're not a super hardcore guild. I think the problem with drums is that the barrier to entry is so low that a guild like ours, which again, we don't require world buffs, but there's less raid spots available. And if we want 4 leatherworkers, it's not that hard to go level leatherworking. You can go have one of your other professions. So I think that this was going to affect way too many like normal guilds. So I like the change. They definitely already said they were going to make a change like this. They said they were going to do something about drums, and that first iteration wasn't really it. Like, it didn't really make sense to what they had said.
Yeah, we were all just like, so you just make it more annoying? Like, we're all still going to have to do it, but now it's just annoying?
Yeah, or after Zolomon is exactly the same. Like, so it wasn't really a huge change. So, I mean, I'm glad they did it. I understand that the the top end. It's nice to be able to push as hard as you can with what's available to you. But it's like you said, the fact that they're getting rid of it ahead of time makes a much bigger difference than had they made this change a month into TBC releasing. Because then it's like, okay, now you're punishing the people who went above and beyond. But limiting the ways you can go above and beyond, I think is fine. And this is such a minor thing, but still easy enough. Yeah, I'm glad they went ahead and made the change.
Winky or Mel, do you guys have anything to add?
I think when you say that, I like the change to drums. I did it today in Karazhan, and I wasn't the person in the group that was popping drums. So it felt great because it was half a GCD that I get back, however long the cast time of the drums is initially. I think in the terms of the top end and players that min-max and these guilds that are just absolutely pushing the limit in terms of what they can do and how fast they can do it, it doesn't matter what the mechanics of the game are. They are always going to find the min-max meta, and they're going to push that meta to the extreme. So whether drums was in there or not, all that taking the drums out and changing it means to me is that there's going to be a different maximum meta that everyone else is going to be doing. So it's Definitely. The same thing for me. All it is for me is that it's just like, oh cool, less micromanaging during encounters, which is great for me because I like to pump, but I don't like to scream and yell and get upset about when we wipe or anything like that. So for the people like me I go in and raid and enjoy it. I mean, that's all I could ask for is fixing drums. Plus, I didn't want to be a leatherworking engineer.
Yeah, same. In my opinion, the reason that leatherworking is so good compared to enchanting, jewel crafting, well, jewel crafting is just, but the reason it's so much better than enchanting is because it benefits your entire group. And I think that's the big thing. Maybe they could have made a change to where it just benefited you, and then therefore certain classes would actually min-max better with it. I don't know how. There'd have to be a lot of number crunching to figure that out. But yeah, that maybe could have been something they could have gone with. Yeah,
we were talking in guild last night. Our guild leader actually was one. He didn't like the change, kind of. It seemed that way, like he didn't like the change. And one of the reasons was like, well, now everyone's just going to do whatever next is best. So who cares, right? But I do think that social aspect is a huge part of it. The fact that other people are upset you're not a leather worker is really the big portion. No one's gonna be like, oh, your rings aren't enchanted, get out of my raid. But you're not a leather worker.
You say that, but there will probably be a lot of people that say your rings aren't enchanted, get out of my raid.
That's true. But not like, it's like as you go down the tiers of how hardcore somebody is, because we're casual sweaty is I guess how we define ourselves. We're not that super hardcore, but leatherworking definitely was going to be a factor on making it into our raid or not. And we're probably going in with 50, and we're not sure if we're running 2 raids or not. So like these sort of things are going to matter a lot to a guild like ours that, we're not dad gamers, but we're not dad gamers yet. We're approaching that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that IDD, QD, or was that Harscar? Okay. You say GM, and I'm just like, I don't know which one it is.
I think it's good for Blizzard to look at the sum changes meta and just completely remove absolute pigeonholes like drums. Yeah.
Agreed.
So I'm for it. I'm sure I'll get a lot of crap for that on stream and whenever Crix finds out.
Yeah.
But, okay.
So Baloop in chat mentions something that I thought about too, which is why I wanted them to fix the drums earlier, or in my opinion, quote unquote, fix the drums. But he is invested, he has a bunch of leather saved, and there's probably a ton of people that have that saved to work up quick. Now with this announcement, they're not even going to be able to sell it for much. You know what I mean? And so that is kind of a bummer for those people who are really prepared.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get for being so responsible and prepared for different things. I mean, come on.
You mean for leather workers? That's their own fault.
Well,
they said they were changing drums when TBC got announced.
Well, but think about it, right? Even one leather worker in each group of a Karazhan or a SSC, 25 players. that's 500% more leatherworkers than were in most raids anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
I was the only.
There might still be a
leatherworker.
good market, you know. Like
Yeah.
my server, I'll log in my server. There will be someone asking, "Is there a tribal leatherworker online?" for like 7 days, and not a single person is there. Right. So I do think a lot of people will be buying a lot of leatherworking mats.
Yeah. That was me. I was that guy. I was the guy on the server. You're like, oh, someone needs frost resist made. It's like, well, you got to hunt down Duranasaur.
Yeah, you're getting mail, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
If you want to be so prepared and like well researched up that you're gonna get leatherworking done before they even announce TVCs coming out, then it's also on you for not doing the research to realize that there might be drum changes coming up, and you needed to decide whether or not you want to go leatherworking or not. Like, if like this is not a change no one was talking about. This is exactly the change people were talking about. So if you weren't thinking, man, I might not go leatherworking, then it's sort of just you weren't actually doing the research. So I mean, obviously it stinks if you're in this position that you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, this stuff will sell. And I think that there was already people expecting there to be this major change.
If you want the sleeper... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
The sleeper investment right now, by the way, this is a Baloop in the chat. The sleeper investment's Velcloth.
Ooh,
because Mooncloth is off of a cooldown in TBC, and that will level you much faster in tailoring than anything else. So you can convert all your Velcloth to Mooncloth and sell it for a lot.
Our white main prices have already reflected this. They've already over doubled since people have been talking about TVC.
Where were you like 3 weeks ago to give me this advice?
Let's just go farm it. Let's go farm
I was on private servers that will not be named.
So I have a definitive answer before we move on to Karazhan about the Headless Horseman and why we're actually all incorrect. So, patch 2.4.3 came out in July 2008, which is technically when some of these patches are saying that the Headless Horseman got added. But the Hollow's End event started October 14th, 2008, the same day that patch 3.0.2 got put onto the servers live. So it actually didn't hit live until the pre-patch of Wrath of the Lich King came out. And then 2 weeks later, Wrath came out. So there was like one Hollow's End in pre-patch that had... So achievements were out already and things like that when that was getting done, which is why I guess it's hard to say it wasn't in TBC, but it really wasn't in 2.4.3. So maybe up in the air.
Stealth detective skills there, Yip.
It took a lot. I brought up a real 2008 article, Hollow's End Guide 2008 from Engadget to do some snooping.
The achievements came out patch 3.0, right?
Yeah.
Something like that? Okay. Yeah, I remember. The only thing I remember about that is my whole guild killed critters for hours to get the achievement of killing like 40,000 critters.
Oh.
That's all we did for a week. Kill critters.
That's funny. Was that 3.0? Or were guild... Am I crazy? Were guild
think it was
achievements
in
not
Wrath.
till Kata?
I think it was in Wrath.
Okay. They may, yeah, it could have been.
I
think
remember.
a lot of the guild improvements were by Kata.
I also drink a lot, so I can't remember much past like 5 to 10 minutes ago. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Just to clarify, this could be I think 3.0.2, which is the patch I'm talking about, is 3.0. They just... So like 3.0.1 got launched and they immediately... It was never used because that is the technical release on the box CD. And then what went live? Yeah, so it's like I think it's the same patch we're talking about. Yeah, I think that is pre-patch.
When you install the game and you get through the 5th disc and then you go to load it up and it's like, you need to download an update. And you're like, no!
Yeah. It was used for 5 seconds.
Yeah, we live in an emerging technology time. Everyone takes it for granted. Oh, we can't explore space, but like, I used to have to download a video to watch it on the internet, all right?
No, we live in the future.
Different. So that's the Burning Crusade classic beta notes on leatherworking drums change.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing is Karazhan raid testing. And yeah, that happened today as we record Friday the 30th. And lots of us didn't get to participate. I'm going to be going on a run tomorrow. I'm excited about that. But the two guests coming on the show did get to run Kara, and I'd love to hear just your experiences. I don't care if you guys go together or at different times, whatever floats your boat.
Would you like to hold my hand, Duranasaur?
I'd love to.
Together.
I want to hold your hand.
I would like you guys to try to look at each other on the stream, since we're
but
Brady
so
bunching it
you're
out.
you're like, wait, on the stream, you're like way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna...
I'm in between you. I'm sorry.
I'll just reach over, Mel.
Yeah, I'll just... Okay. Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. Karazhan has some changes. I can tell you that. It felt like they buffed a little bit of every boss.
Really?
Yeah, attunement. So I got to preface. We went in with we went horrible comp. 3 warlocks. I'm a warlock main. I went elemental shaman just to not be a 4th warlock. We had 1 tank as paladin, as Grace for Days.
Oh, paladin.
Yeah, and it was really fun because it was just a bunch of the homies. It was, Grace for Days, Ami, Cargos, me, Tommy Salami, Tactics, Silver, just some of the content creators that we're all in this big homie circle with, right? So it was a great time, lots of laughs. Attunement was easiest thing we've ever done. With 1 tank, right? So Grays did a great job with that. Curator seemed pretty... I liked Curator before they nerfed the Spark. When 3 Sparks would come out at a time, it was so much more fun and exciting because I'm kind of one of those... I got a Dark Souls statue there. I love difficult things and challenge runs and stuff. So,
yeah, Curator's definitely easier.
Yeah, Curator's easy to the point that's almost boring now. And we figured out Duranasaur Curator takes full damage.
Yep.
When it's not an evocate stage.
Yeah.
And on private servers, Curator took 1% of any damaging ability when it wasn't an evocate stage.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow.
Yeah, so it was a huge difference, right? And
by the time it was probably the similar thing with your group. By the time we got to the evocate phase, which is when you're supposed to actually damage Curator, right? He starts evocating, he takes a ton more damage, and you're supposed to that's when you hammer cooldowns. By the time we got there, he was basically at enrage. He was already down 20%. So we were okay, this is.
So you just kill him.
Do you think that's how it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
No,
I think it was a private server thing, though. That's what I was told, anyways. That the 1% damage is a private server exclusive. They did it to make it harder. But I can't remember. I remember Curator being the guild destroyer.
Yeah.
The first time around in TBC, I remember guilds falling apart. People were, rage quitting over Curator, and I'm it's just for me, one of the hardest bosses is Maiden. Because the timers are all goofy. You can't time the repentance right. And it's only difficult in the sense that it's difficult to parse, right? That's what we mean by difficult. That's a game. That's a gaming philosophy that I'm in a huge disagreement, and that's a tangent I could go for hours on. But
yes,
Curator was good. We noticed Shade of Iran got a big buff, it felt like.
Yeah. Shade of Iran was another level.
Yeah, he got the Inferno ability or whatever it is, where he's got the Mage of the Dragon head comes out, fire goes in front.
Yeah, it's like a Dragon Breath ability. Yeah.
Yeah, and Blizzard is legitimately 95% of the map and 5% that you can stand in and go in a circle.
Oh gosh.
So we were upset because on private servers it was 20% of the circle going around, and then on beta initially, it was 50% of the circle. So we were well, let's see what Curator or Shade of Iran's now. Legitimately, everyone was just the only way to avoid this is run to the middle. There's no other way to avoid
We did that, and then there was Blizzard in the middle.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, and I don't know if it's supposed to happen this way, but Shade casts Arcane Explosion while that Blizzard's going on. Yeah. Almost every time. We had
Flame Wreath with Blizzard going.
Yeah.
So we had people that were I can't move because of Flame Wreath, and they're just sitting in Blizzard. And it's this is, this fight is now very RNG dependent and could could just like the best group in the world could go in there and just be like, nope, that one iteration that we got of that was unkillable.
Which that never feels good, right? Nobody ever wants the
Oh,
RNG aspect to kill you. You want to know that there is a way you could have done better and gotten through it.
Yeah,
I think it feels great, and I want more of it.
it's good in that
love
it's difficult. Yeah.
And you know, I guess you could, right? I guess the only RNG aspect of it is Flame Wreath or Arcane Explosion during Blizzard. If they just had it to where Blizzard is casted and then he does all the abilities other than those two abilities, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you could stay in your 5% of the map that's safe and then go in a circle or the room, right?
I think that's, I mean, when they originally nerfed him, that's basically what they did, right? Because the version that we had in the first Kara testing, that's what it was. Like, you were not getting Flame Wreath or Arcane Explosion with a Blizzard. So I think that we might even see that in classic TBC, that when they eventually nerf these bosses, you know, Shade of Iran won't do that.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that it's like, even if something is RNG based, there's such little raid content in phase 1 that it sounds like starting in phase 2, it's going to start getting nerfed. Almost, do they just leave it? Like, hey, there's no world buff, so no one's going to get
hope
that.
They do.
Yeah, like no one's going to get that angry for wiping because there's no world buffs. So it's sort of just, oh, that sucks, but it's not like we've got anything else to do right now anyway. There's just Magtheridon and Gruul left.
I think they should look at the metrics of how many raiders have attempted Karazhan versus cleared it. And moving into phase 2, they should say if more than 75% of people that attempted it made a full clear, just keep it the same. Because it's otherwise you're increasing player power and trivializing the content at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just legitimately, you go in there, you delete the whole place. And Karazhan is the one raid that you do for the entire expansion. You just spam it. Right?
Yeah.
So I would love to have some actual mechanics and things to do while you're in there other than delete the bosses. And, you know, because then I'm going to be asking, well, when do we get to jump down on Shade of Iran? You know, like Molten Core, right?
Yeah.
Just to make, like, spice it up a little bit. But
I think that there are definitely people with the opposite opinion. I'm not sure exactly where I fall when it comes to Kara, but like, if we had to do Molten Core this whole time, would I have wanted it to be like a challenge this entire time? Or is it just better that, you know, okay, I'm running Kara in phase 3 on my third alt again. Can we just get through this content?
Just push through it.
It's super easy. Or like, do I really need to struggle on freaking Kara every week that I'm doing?
It is a delicate balance, right? Because the player power is going to increase, period, throughout the expansion. So you know that people are going to be able to carry each other through fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You know, we're not moving to the speedrun discussion yet, but when we get there, we'll talk about all that stuff. But I mean, I can see people doing incredibly fast Karazhan runs, especially if the meta is unlocked to only having to kill Prince or something like that. Like, there could be some pretty insane speedruns, which is going to be awesome.
I think at launch, you'll see people. Like, I think Kara's going to get cleared in the first like raid reset of TBC, because I think people are going to hit. I think enough people are going to hit 70 within like 48 hours of TBC coming out, and get Kara tuned and actually go in there. That like, there's probably going to be people setting like speed run records of Kara that the average player may not see over the entire course of TBC, because it's just you're going to have groups of players that are that well prepped. And well practiced.
However, though, I don't think we're ever going to see what Apes did with Molten Core. I don't think we'll ever see a level 68 go into Kara and get world first. I don't think at the level that Karazhan's at right now in phase 1, one crushing blow will one-shot your tank from Prince, for instance, right? Like, phase 2 Prince is not going to be something a level 68 can accomplish.
Even with like tier 3 gear, like full tier 3?
I think full tier 3 is going to be a benefit. I don't think it's going to matter as much.
I think the level
I actually think pre-raid BIS is better than full tier 3 going into Kara. Depending on your class.
I think it depends on your class.
Yeah. And how that goes. But I I don't know. And if I do see a 68 group do it, I will be incredibly impressed, like big time impressed.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be an RNG asset. Like if you get Crushing Blown, like you're dead, period.
Yeah.
Your tank is gone. And then it's a white. But on Prince tonight, now that we're talking about that, you know, I accidentally found an evade spot for infinite wipe prevention possibilities, which is something
Pretty
that
big.
is, it's only.
Did you report the bug?
I'm going to go with 100% no.
I'm going to say it's not a bug.
It's a feature.
It's a feature.
Yeah.
Clever use of game mechanics. No, it's applicable because I had two of the most world-renowned evade spot abusers in the raid group, Tommy Salami and Tactics Lowell. And I jumped into this evade spot when we were going to wipe on Prince, and everyone was like, is that an evade spot? And then the boss reset. And I was like, well, here you go, guys. There's your evade spot.
Yes,
and then, you know,
so?
Tommy and Tactics were just like, we have to find more. You know, like they're going crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I think Karazhan's kind of in a good spot right now, as in terms of just me rating it. I think that it could use a buff on some parts of the raid. Like leading up to Shade of Iran, I think the hardest part of the raid is if you're skipping trash.
Yeah.
But I also think, coming from your guys' perspective of being fairly hardcore players, right? You want something challenging that's going to challenge you. And I think we got challenged on this when we had other people on where they said, but Kara is supposed to be the entry level raid. And there's still people that haven't gotten through Naxx or BWL and Classic, you know?
Yeah.
And what does that do to them and their ability to even raid this content?
Yeah.
I think the design philosophy matters a lot. So Corpse, one of our main tanks, talks about this sometimes, where Kara intentionally was supposed to be really hard originally, because in their heads they said, okay, we made Naxx. Now the next thing we make should be harder than Naxx, right? Like that adds up, right? You're progressively getting harder. Whereas expansions are now like a reset where you expect the first raid to be the first tier, not harder than the last tier of the last raid.
Which I don't know if I agree with.
I agree with a lot of what Corp says, but this one I hard disagreed with because
what I think he was saying that was their design philosophy, not that he wanted that necessarily. I think he was saying that's why Kara is so hard. But if you go in with that mindset, like, what do people want? Do people want something on par with Naxx? His Naxx was a blast. Going into Naxx was such a refreshing, like, whoa, like we're doing mechanics. Right. This is fun. And then going into Kara.
Are we the vocal minority or are we the majority, right? Like,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're talking me, I would love it to be challenging, but at the same time, it is a 10-man raid, so like that would really hurt people getting into groups that weren't, you know, the best class. But where I'm at is there were people that quit at BWL, there were people that quit at AQ, there were a ton of people that quit at Naxx. And I want those people to come back for launch. So I feel like we could just keep ramping up each time. It was actually one of the things I hated about Cataclysm is because the first raid tier before nerfed was crazy hard. I was like, and all of my buddies who had quit in Wrath early because it was just too hard came back, and we were doing our 10-man stuff. And they couldn't do it. And it was so depressing. I was just like, I get this short time to play with my casual buddies, you know, that don't really know how to play the game well. And you don't get that if we just keep progressing up.
Which is funny for me. I thought Cat at the beginning was awesome because the heroics, and I really hope that this is generally true and not just for me, but I found the heroics to be more difficult than the content that Wrath offered. The early Cat heroics, when we didn't have gear and we were just getting into them, when we hit max level, I thought were really challenging, and that's what I loved about the game. I was like, yo, I love that, like, I'm in here with these 4 other people and we're talking about pulls. Like, we just pulled trash and wipes. We have to actually be careful in here. Listen, I mean, they got to send out a survey, I guess.
We were in some of the heroics with Josh and Ale and Corpse.
And we also ran with Melderon. Melderon died at almost every poll. He has picked himself a really hard class to he's picked Enhanced Shabby, and it's going to be a rough go for him for a while.
Heroics in the TBC beta, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And he died almost every poll.
I can confirm, though, we have an Enhanced Shaman in our raid that came tonight. And I mained Enhance since the day TBC launched originally. I mained Enhance until the day Classic came back out. Like through all the good and bad times of Enhanced Shaman, right?
Wow.
And our Enhanced Shaman in raid today was beating all three of our Warlocks on several of the fights in terms of DPS. Like in terms of numbers, the Enhance can pump it, right? But it's
survivability.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope because they're so up and down with they get a couple crits and all of a sudden they're just getting turned on and they cannot survive the hit that they're about to take.
Well, it's funny because the way it seems, in my opinion, like when you talk to people that play retail and you talk to people that are exclusively Classic, the majority of my friend base and community are all Classic exclusive, right? But coming from retail into Classic, all of the raids are kind of a joke, right? Like you look at
definitely
even Nax, is just kind of a meme compared to Classic or to retail's difficulty of mechanics and
if you're talking Mythic, for sure.
I don't mean Mythic. I did normal Castle Nathria.
Yeah,
I would argue normal Castle Nathria was harder than our Nax experience.
100%.
The only reason we could do it is because you can
40 people.
Well, right, but the only reason that we could do normal Castle Nathria is that we can just delete the bottom 30% of the raid and then finish the raid in retail. Yep. If we had to bring all 40 people, there's just no way. Like, it's just not possible. Without people doing mechanics properly, we would bring like 25 people, and like one person dying at the beginning of the raid was like, how are we going to make the DPS check now? We have too many people. You can't die at the beginning.
It's interesting because retail WoW is WoW that has been through all of the iterations of the vocal player base ripping Blizzard apart, right? So for the example that Bob brought up of like, in Cataclysm, my friends quit because it was too difficult at the onset, and we had a limited amount of time to play. That is stuff that Raid Finder fixed, right? You just log in, you queue up, 15 minutes later, you're in the raid. It's virtually impossible to wipe. You get it done, you go.
Yeah.
But it ruined the community.
Yeah, but that wasn't fun, though. Like, I mean, so these same friends started in Wrath, and we did, the 10-man content as a group of buddies, and we wiped, we progressed through, but then we finally beat it. It was a cool progression. Whereas like looking for raid would have just meant they could just be like, we had one friend that would always get really drunk, and you could tell at the point in the night that he just was like not there. And
he'd be like really good into a point.
He would be able to just get away with that. Yeah. And that's not exactly what I wanted. It's just like Kata 10 mans like really pushed it compared to Nax 10 man in Wrath is all I was saying. But it's still fun to have that progression though.
It's a difficult spot for Blizzard. I'm not envious of the people running Blizzard's TBC launch because they don't have the option unless they take like, no changes plus some changes to like the fullest extreme and go, hey, here's a regular dungeon, a heroic dungeon, and a mythic version.
At that point, it's like, here's Warcraft 2. Here's WoW 2. Right?
I think that's where we go.
Here's WoW 2, and we're going some changes this way.
The what it is. I was saying a couple weeks ago, maybe it was last week, we're talking about this
Bob's
like deluxe talking about the deluxe edition. I was like, we have to realize that for Classic to survive for a long period of time, I think they probably will need to be more hands-on than we want even right now, because they have to modernize the game and they have to modernize it for people who want to play it. Like, I want to play TBC how it was when I was 14 years old, or do I want to play it like how I remember it was when I was 14 years old? And in order to get that remember, they got to make it harder.
Don't remember it at all,
yeah, or you don't remember it at all.
Yeah,
and
but
these,
so there
these
are
all things. Oh, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, being more hands-on allows them to do different things. Like, hey, here's a super heroic, and maybe there's only cosmetic rewards or something. Like they used to have those challenge dungeons in retail. That sort of stuff's cool. Like if they implemented a game system, I mean, we're going to talk more about speedrunning here in a minute, but if they implemented an in-game speedrun system, like I don't see why anyone would have to be like, oh, no changes. Like this isn't what we asked for.
Well, I was talking recently with one of my friends, Parla, who's one of the best priests in the world. He was on Apes' progression team for a long time. He still is. He's actually getting off the team for TBC because he got worn out of the grind of, you know, getting out of Nax, going to PTR, practicing, you know, stuff like that, which I don't blame him. But he said, what would it take to keep Classic WoW alive during TBC, and more like what would relight the fire for you to want to come back to Classic WoW? And my response was, well, there's a few options. Option one is I wait another 10 years. Right, because then I would want to go back, right? As we all will.
Classic vanilla, you mean specifically?
Yeah, classic vanilla. Option number two is if they announce fast-paced fresh servers that reset annually, right? Then, you know, from day one, everything's available, or you know, you release it on a monthly basis or whatever, and then it resets. And option three is you have to have Classic Plus with some kind of crazy, wild incentive to wanting to keep doing Stratholme. You know, if you want to do Strat, you know, live and dead in under 15 minutes and get whatever mount or whatever, right? Like you'd have to do something, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to apply.
Yeah, Yips mentioned this many times on the show about how he wants, like, what do you call it, seasons, right?
Seasons.
Yeah, I'm a big
100%.
Diablo player. Like
Me
Diablo
too.
2 is still alive because of seasons. Diablo 3
100%.
has no subscription model, yet can still deliver new content because they just get so many players for seasons. No one's playing. I mean, there obviously are people playing the non-seasons, but they have new content and there's no subscription model at all. Or there's not really any microtransactions in North America either, but there are across the world. So it's kind of...
I'll have to get with you after the call to talk about the alpha of Diablo 2.
Nice. All right, well, I do have to move us on a bit, though. Let's move into...
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
Wikipotamus, I don't know if you've checked out the show before, but anytime we have someone new on the show, we'd like to get to know them a bit. Because I think so many shows don't do that, and I like to get to know everybody because everybody has a different past. So give us some background on your WoW career. Like, how long did you play, etc.? Do you still play retail or modern, whatever you want to call it? Give us like your you know.
I'm going to interrupt
story
before you even begin to answer. Do you prefer to go by Winky now? You said you just mentioned before the podcast you switched your Twitch to just Winky.
Winkypotamus is what I'm known for everywhere else on the internet. Mm-hmm. But on Twitch specifically, it's just Winky. Because every time I would go to somebody's stream, I would type, "Hey man, how's it going?" And they would say, "Sup, Winky?" And then if someone tried to read the full name, they'd be like, "Winky Potomus," as Duranasaur likes to point out all the time.
As someone who goes by Cognitive Pit, I understand your troubles. Yeah. And all right, background on WoW career.
Yeah. So recently, I got lucky enough to be partnered with Twitch, and they allowed me to change my name. And I said, "I want Winky," and they said, "Cool." So that's what they did. So we're excited.
Partner, that's huge.
Yeah, it was a big milestone. I've been streaming for like 7 years, so it was long time goal, and we finally met it. And now I don't know what else to do. So,
you made it.
Yeah, we're already there, right? But for WoW, I started. So I was a Diablo 2 player as a kid. My mom wouldn't let me play it because we're from a very religious family, and then had Diablo in the name. So I had one of my friends, his mom actually bought me the
Where
game.
are you from?
California, Central Valley of California.
California, but still had that like Bible Belt type of deal.
Yeah,
going on.
so my mom was from Oklahoma. If you want to go way back, right? My mom lived in Oklahoma her whole life. She
Gotcha.
came,
That's right below us. We live in Kansas City, so I definitely get it. Like, I'm not part of the culture, but I get the culture.
She's from a town right outside Oklahoma City called Shawnee. Was where my whole family was, and my mom moved out to California because she met a strapping young lad, and that was my father. And they had us and got married. So I was part of the, I would call it Southern. I know a lot of people in Oklahoma don't like being called Southern, or people don't like it when they say Oklahoma is Southern because it's kind of central, just kind of middle. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, we recently looked up like the actual. There's so many different people. Like, there's so many different organizations that classify the Midwest, South, everything differently. Like, the government does it different than other organizations. We just know this because Mel's job, she works with a bunch of different things across the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to figure out what her actual location was, and it's nuts.
I have Kansas, Oklahoma, and Colorado, and they call us the Northwest, and I'm like, we're definitely
You're not the Northwest.
not
No.
the Northwest, but
No.
if you turn the map upside down, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry to tangent.
Well,
I
that's just
call it
because
Southern.
people on the coast don't care what's going on in the middle of the country. That's
That's factual evidence right
That's
there.
true. That's true.
So long story short, yeah, families from Oklahoma, very, very, very strong Bible thumping, Bible Belt kind of background. I was not allowed to play Diablo. My friend's mom bought it for me. I threw the box away, took the CDs home, installed them, and then threw them away. Or no, I kept the Lord of Destruction disc because you needed that one in the CD drive. So my mom never knew that I was playing Diablo the entire time I was playing Diablo because she wasn't very savvy on the video games. So my brother came home and said, I've got this game, World of Warcraft, and you should play it. So I watched him play it for a little bit. He's an older brother of mine, 3 years older. So he was a little bit more mature than I was in the sense of video games and RPGs and cool stuff. So he brought it home. I watched him play a dwarf warrior for like 2 or 3 hours. And I was like, this game is garbage. Absolute garbage. And I was like, where's the loot? I want to kill demons. I want to, I was playing a Frozen Orb Sork at the time. And I was like, I want to be big spells and lots of things flying out of bodies. And I want to open chests all the time. And so I tried it out. I made a druid, a night elf druid. And then I was like, this game's trash. So then I went back to Diablo for a couple months until I heard my brother in Ventrilo. That was like the turning point. I was like, okay,
good old Ven.
There are people that play this game other than my brother, right? Because I thought it was like Morrowind on crack. Basically, that was like the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
Right. So I got on, and then ever since then I never stopped playing. So it was from Vanilla WoW all the way through BFA, through Legion.
Oh, so are you a Mythic Raider?
I was a while ago.
I think you're the first Mythic Raider we've had on the show. Like, Mel's brother is a current Mythic Raider.
Okay,
yeah.
First of all,
most of people we don't have on that have like done that throughout the entire time.
You
Okay,
look so
first of
offended
all,
right now.
I killed the first boss of Heimal and Warlords of Draenor on Mythic. He's just like a tank and spank in an arena. So technically, I'm a Mythic Raider. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
okay. You never told us that.
The last Mythic rating I did was we got ahead of the curve on Jaina in BFA.
Oh, that's very recent. That's
yeah. But when Shadowlands came out, I tried leveling. I just was so deep into Classic at the time. I think I'm still 56 or something. I don't know what
It's hard to play at a high level at both, I think.
Well, I was only going to do it. I was only going to do it for Arena because I love retail Arena. But kind of watching people play the Arena recently, kind of changing my mind on that too. So I don't know. The meta is a little.
It's kind of. I'm pretty excited about TBC or Arena coming out, and there's rumors of like possibly esports getting into it and stuff like that, and I'm pretty excited because I've watched a lot of retail Arena over the past 2 years, and I just can't tell what in the going on. Like, but I will be able to tell in TBC because I'll be playing it. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of excited about that.
I can't give any spoilers, but I am currently aware of 2 esports organizations putting together full-on championship series in Arena.
Very nice.
Awesome. Well, I mean, when you can talk about it, you have to come back on the show
it'll be
promote it.
Awesome. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to lose in the first round of every one of them, but I'll be there.
I hope it's super throwback and it's sponsored by Circuit City, TBC Arena.
Yeah, right? Sponsored by Blockbuster.
Radio Shack.
Oh, we're on the same page, brother. We're on the same page.
I hate to go off on a tangent, but did you know the original Blockbuster is an Airbnb now? The last, it's the last existing Blockbuster to close down. Someone bought and they left it as a Blockbuster so that you can, and they opened it as a Airbnb and you can go in there and take a vacation at Blockbuster.
Wow. Yes.
That's,
Where's
that's
it
actually
at?
awesome.
Isn't it in
I don't
Oregon?
know. I'll Google it and find it for you.
Yes.
No Hit Jerome was just talking about it.
No Hit Jerome would talk about that.
Yeah.
There's like a family video store across the street from our house right now that I'm pretty sure I'm just like, what's happening? Who is actually going there?
Yep.
I mean, it must be a lot of people because it's been in business for years now. And I'm just like, what the? I need to just walk in it one of these days.
So you hear your brother on vent, and you finally decide, is this vanilla?
No. Yeah, that was Vanilla WoW. Yep. My brother had brought home the trial discs or whatever they were. I can't remember. You could they locked you at a certain level, and I don't know. I was a child, but I probably didn't get past level 10 the first time I tried it. But a few months later, I came back and I was full launch Vanilla WoW, and I was no lifing. I played a rogue to 55. And then I re-rolled Druid and got that to 60. And then the day Burning Crusade. So this is sad. I could go for so long, by the way, guys.
You stopped at 55?
Dude, so check this out.
I just feel like you're so close.
I'm like 10 years old. I'm like 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
Playing Vanilla WoW.
ADD probably
and I was on the server Alexstrasza. And I joined a guild. To this day, I remember it was named Lords of Alexstrasza. And I asked them at level 40, where do I go to level? Because there was no add-ons. I didn't have any James's Alliance leveling guys.
That's one of
nothing
the
like
worst
that, right?
areas in the leveling. Yeah, that's one of the worst classic leveling areas is the 40s.
Yeah, and I'm a gnome rogue, and I said, what do I do? Where do I go to level? And they said, go to Arathi Highlands or what's that? It's above Hillsbrad, right above Hillsbrad.
Hinterlands?
No, not the Hinterlands. It's the snowy
Alterac Mountains.
Alterac Mountains.
Yeah.
I've never considered that its own.
They said go to the Alterac Mountains and kill ogres. That's what they told me. And I'm not kidding.
That sounds fun.
I spent 3 weeks as a child killing ogres in the Alterac Mountains. And I'm not even kidding. Like 9 hours a day after school, it was me coming home, pickpocketing and killing ogres. And I grinded from level 40 to level 50 on those ogres.
What am I doing with my life?
I'm not even, so the thing, I was a kid, right? And I was in Stormwind one day, and I've always been an Alliance player. I went to Horde halfway through Warlords of Draenor for, just because everyone at that time went Horde. But I saw someone in Stormwind. They had a Corehound's Tooth. It was level 60 human rogue with a Corehound's Tooth. And I said, I want a Corehound's Tooth. Like, that's the goal for me, right? So then
it should have been the Partition's Blade.
Well, I didn't know. No one knew, right? I just liked the way the Corehound's Tooth looked. And I was like, that's amazing. I need that. So, and this was back in the days, he'd run around in Stormwind and inspect people's gear and be like, oh, this guy's so cool. And like this guy has, cool like BWL gear on, and he'd stand on the bank steps, or stand on the mailbox. But that was life. And I was a kid. I would just get home from school, kill ogres, and just think about that Corehound's tooth that I never actually got.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because the Perdition's Blade was the first item I ever looted from a raid. I came in a little late to Molten Core, and there was a whole bunch of controversy. Like, the guy really liked that I was playing with Mel, was a girl, which was pretty rare at that time. And so he just basically
girls
ninja
that talked
looted
and
it.
vent were rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he just ninja looted it to me and said it was an accident.
Oh,
like,
what a
everybody was
boss.
calling for GMs, and he's like, listen, just it was my first raid. He's like, just let him go negative. I promise he'll be good. And I got to keep it, and I didn't realize till later that it was just a huge change. But we and I wasn't a kid. I was in my early 20s when it came out, so we just didn't know anything about the game.
No one did. Yeah, that was the best part. My mom had to sign a waiver for me to join my raiding guild because I was under 18, and it was an over 18 exclusive. They legitimately said, if you want to join our raiding guild, you have to get your mom to sign this waiver, and I did, and I posted it.
Amazing.
And the coolest part is I still daily go on that guild's website. We have our own forums, forums.zealguild.org if you guys are interested. But I played with that guild for 10 years straight, never stopped. I found out my own cousin was in that guild that I had never met. I'm not even kidding. It's a really crazy story. He was explaining issues in guild chat one day that he was having in his life because, Warcraft was also a therapist for a lot of people growing up. And I was like, dang, that sounds a lot like the family issues I'm dealing with right now. So I messaged him and I was like, dude, like, have we been playing together? And this was in TBC, like during SSC. So we'd been playing together for 3 or 4 years at that point. And he was like, what's your last name? And I told him, and he was like, dude, we're cousins. And I legit met him for the first time. He flew out to Thanksgiving one year because he was, they're all from Oklahoma. I'm from California. He flew out to California for Thanksgiving one year, and it was like the craziest reunion. I was like, dude, I've known you, over half my life. I was like mid-20s that at that time. And I play WoW with it. I literally met him by chance in my guild.
Crazy.
Wow,
blood relatives.
Did you play private servers?
I did. Yeah. Not very hardcore at all. I was doing the retail grind with every expansion, but I remember in Wrath, I played one of the weirdest TBC private server ever. It was like Noxian privates, and it was one of those ones where you'd spawn in at level 70. There's like all kinds of crazy like WoW plus type loot where you'd go to a vendor and buy like stuff that could make you shoot lightning bolts out of your arms, or just weird stuff, right? And then I got really big into the WoW classic privates after Warcraft, after Blizzard said they would never do it. When there was like the big outcry,
you think you do, but you don't.
The think you do, but you don't. That was when I got into the private server scene because I said, Warcraft's never going to do it. So I did a little bit of Elysium. I did Northdale. I did some of them. Never hardcore at all. Like, I was never in a raiding guild, weekly raiding, nothing like that. But it was just fun being back in that world of childhood,
Right.
That's where I discovered my love of classic WoW Warlock, because I always played Rogue or Druid, and I wanted to try out something new the first time I went to a private server. So I rolled Warlock, and I've been on Warlock in Classic ever since, and I'm going to be riding Warlock into TBC. I love Warlock.
In Classic, Warlock is so cool. It was cool leveling up.
Yep.
It's cool to PvP with.
Yep.
It's just not cool to top the damage meters, you know?
Not at all, no. And I like to brag that my guild would not have killed Rag the night that we did it. unless I was there. Because I DC'd when we were attempting our first attempt on Rag and they wiped. And I came back and we were melee stacking because the meta, right? I came back and I put Recklessness on Rag and we won. So I'm just saying.
I'm like the opposite. I'm never gonna miss a Nax because I don't want people to realize they can do it without me. That's
yeah, right. Yeah.
Like,
you guys, I missed. You remember the week I was gone? I was out of town, and I was like, "Listen, if you guys kill Saf tonight when I'm not there, I'll never forgive you. Like, I'm just never. You're just gonna have to wipe so that when I come back, we're fine."
Yep. Warlock was cool until the end of Wrath, I think, in my opinion. It got weird in Cataclysm and beyond.
I played Warlock in TBC as PvP, and
Warlock is so fun for classic
I must have said I
PvP.
DPS Warlocked in
Yeah.
Warlords of Draenor.
That's
like my warrior
Warlocked.
brain talking. I'm like, I did DPS on Warlock. Is that every spec? But I did it in Warlords. I had a blast then, and I guess that's later than your timeline. I really
It's okay.
liked
It's like
Warlock.
me playing the Holy Druid and Corpse being like, yeah.
It's just
okay.
fun.
To be fair,
Corpse is like,
Holy Druid is next level.
I think with classic for me with Warlock, it's that Warlock is the most fun for me in the open world. You can win a 1v1 in almost any situation as a Warlock if you're good enough.
Dude, I was killing level 60 Fury warriors in that were going for their freaking Songflower in Felwood when I was 55.
Yeah, if it can be feared, it can be killed. Right? That's kind of the way.
Fear is so broken in classic.
You know what's cheating though is when warlocks are questing with their priest buddy and they send their pet after a mob so that they can get the little item on the ground. I don't have that option.
We've been doing we've been doing questing in beta, and all the little collection ones. I send my pet in, and then I get the node, and she's always like trying to inch towards like the node, and I'll send my pet to the other one so that I can get the other node, and she's just like.
And then I start fighting the mob, and he gets the node that I'm fighting for.
The best part of that is it works for Black Lotus.
See, that's cheating.
So,
I've played vanilla and classic
mob.
WoW, and I've never seen a Black Lotus.
I got 2 of them. That was my prime Lotus farming.
That's partially your fault. We've seen Black Lotus on the way to raid, Mal. So partially that is your fault.
I didn't see it.
I know, but
yeah, the Lotus farming.
Exactly what he's saying.
You just have to play on a dead server. Then you'll see all the Black Lotus.
I got a Black Lotus on my hardcore Warlock. I did a hardcore WoW grind, and I was Herbalism Alchemy, and I got to 60 on my Warlock without dying, and on the way up, I got a Black Lotus.
We have a hunter in our guild who eagle-eyed in Silithus and probably farmed 50 Black Lotuses on his own.
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, I also don't farm, so
maybe that's
me
too.
Okay, so speaking of the hardcore challenge, you do something kind of cool that I checked out.
Oh,
you do F's in the chat with Grays for Days. And why don't you tell us about what F's in the chat is on YouTube?
Sure. Yeah. So it's on YouTube. It's live on Twitch as well. Our YouTube viewership does not accurately reflect our Twitch viewership, sadly. I'm trying to get this YouTube thing off the ground, bro.
Hey, dude, you were preaching to the choir like we're in the top 200 audio podcasts on iTunes, but we can't get anybody to listen or watch on YouTube. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think F's is something that people have a lot more fun being there live for. It's basically there's the hardcore community within Classic World of Warcraft is a bunch of idiots that think it's fun to try and level up 1 to 60 without ever dying, or using an auction house, or joining a group, or doing a dungeon more than once.
Yeah. We've covered. We've definitely covered the hardcore challenge with a lot of people. So if they're listeners for a while, they should definitely know what it is.
Yes, F's in chat was this kind of idea that we had. It was supposed to be an events update because I've been a mod in the community for a little, almost a year now. And it was supposed to be this like update for upcoming events and cool things that happened in the previous week. And, just like a community update podcast kind of setting. With Grays was supposed to kick it off as the first co-host, and it kind of turned into this like we just watch everyone die for hours.
Sounds morbid and fun.
Yeah, so it's basically we take the deaths and the highlight clips from the community that have posted them in the Discord, and we watch them live with an audience, and we comment on them, because the people that I have on as guests, like last week Duranasaur was a guest, and he's an absolute Chad for being there. The people I try to get on are people that are incredibly knowledgeable about Classic WoW, that know just about every quest in the game. They've done the hardcore challenge themselves. Preferably they've completed it themselves, so they can relate to what they're seeing. And we just analyze these death videos, and it's kind of a mix between sadness and humor, because everyone likes to see the send off to their character after they've died. It's like you get your F in the guild chat whenever you die on hardcore. You die, you put F in the guild chat. The whole guild puts F for you as a way to show respects. And then
solidarity.
And then the real F is when the community comes together every week and watches it on F's in chat.
Watches it.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Sorry, Duran, go.
Oh, I was just going to say because I've been featured on F's in chat. I've lost hardcore characters. And it's like a bittersweet moment of like, you know, Winky starts sort of talking about like this next clip. I think most of you guys know him. And he'll slowly give information, and then he'll do a scene change, and you'll see it's your clip, and you're just like, oh no. Because you know, like, there's always something you could have done. So you're hypercritical of yourself, and now everyone's going to see it, and Winky knows the game. Winky's going to point out what you could have done. But it's also a great moment because, like, it showcases all these different people who are streaming, who are playing Classic WoW, who are having a good time. And people are always, like, super quick to say, wow, that sucked. Like, that sucked. And that helps. It helps you, like, go again. Like, make another character.
It helps you, like, it helps you just be like, okay, I'm done. Do you ever do anything where you put a clip up and you don't tell anybody, but it looks like they're going to die?
Absolutely.
But instead, they actually make it?
We do it all the time. Yep.
Okay, cool.
For highlight clips that are really close, and like, I'll even put clips up sometimes and have the chat vote on if it's a death or a highlight before they watch it. And I see Nova in the chat right now on Twitch. He's one of my mods. He's one of the best people in the hardcore community, pillar of the community, and he's there for every single episode of F's, which is great.
You guys,
you know?
I just want to point out that I would be really bad at this hardcore challenge. Bob can attest that when we're questing, I just go like the complete like straight route from point A to point B.
Yeah, she's a straight line
like
runner.
82 mobs.
She'll worry about it once she gets there.
I'm like, listen,
honestly,
the risk reward here.
I'm telling you, if I could, coming from Diablo 2 and playing a lot of hardcore in Diablo 2 growing up, if I could turn off softcore mode on World of Warcraft and it like literally only play hardcore for the rest of my life, I would. Where
if you died, you like die?
Yeah, with what Cargos has created with all of you, I mean, Blizzard would be crazy not to make an actual server for it. I mean, it's absurd that they won't do it.
Can I ask for clarification?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
If you die after you hit 60, do you have to delete?
Yes, I would play that nonstop.
That's the
so
difference
in the
here between a normal person and a psycho.
Yeah,
that all the way to 60, love it, awesome. Post 60, I'm keeping my character. But I could understand like the way they do it in RuneScape is you just like have like a clear label. So you're a hardcore character, and if you die, then you're a softcore character. And then people can tell the difference between it, but your character's not deleted.
Are you guys calling what I play easy mode? Call. Is that what I'm hearing? Are you calling
we call
mode?
You what we call you in the hardcore community, and Duranasaur will attest to this, is you are a multi-lifer.
Yep.
And we we look down on multi-lifers.
It's okay. I was walking over the
I thought in
TBC.
your general direction.
There's like these bridges that are like have no railings and it's like waterfalls on each side of you, right?
Mhm.
And I was walking over it and I was like, listen,
In Grand.
yeah, I'm like, in real life, you'd never see me walk over this.
Yep.
Like if I couldn't have a res button,
Yep.
not happening.
Well,
like
and the craziest part about hardcore, I hate to go on the hardcore tangent because I can go for
No, you're fine.
days on this one. The best part of hardcore is next time you're playing WoW, ask yourself, would I be doing this if my character got deleted when I died?
but
Hell no. Hell no. That's why I won't do it.
It changes everything.
But what it does is it puts value into the game where there's so much muddied water of no value. When you're doing a quest in Nagrand and you're in a cave, right? Let's say you're doing a quest in classic vanilla right now, or you're running through the cave in Western Plaguelands that goes to Eastern Plaguelands, and there's spiders all over it. You know that cave? It's the back way
yes.
through.
Yes.
There's an elite spider that put pats up and down it, right? When you're there in hardcore WoW, you are paying attention to the game. You're paying attention to the environment. You're recognizing things. When I started playing hardcore WoW, I recognized 1,000 things that I didn't know about the game. Like, oh, wow, that's really cool. The developers put that there because I didn't know. Because before it was like, oh, I'm looking at my quest log and looking at how long it's going to take me to finish this piece of shit quest. You know, sorry for cussing, but that I don't want to do. Right. But now it's like, now there's this whole value of you find yourself enjoying the entire game again, whether it's leveling or
questing.
I've got mad respect for everybody that does it. I watched Duranasaur do it quite a bit on his Twitch. I've actually followed so many people that I didn't know about doing the hardcore challenge. It's just you guys have more tenacity than me. I have the majority of my deaths while I'm AFK. If happen. I couldn't go AFK, I'm going to have to get a freaking bottle to sit right next to the computer because
you log out.
I'm definitely drinking while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I guess you kill it.
That doesn't always say you though.
Blown.
What is that?
Yeah.
I've never heard of
You
log
log
out.
out.
You
log out. You go pee and you come back.
For me, as
that.
As someone who's played a lot of hardcore Diablo, I love hardcore. The problem with it not being built in the game is, I don't know if it's just due to my advanced age, but I have a lot of gamer guilt these days. And if I'm spending time on something and it's not even the way the game is meant to be played, I'm going to be sitting there guilty the whole time, like, this is not productive at all. This is
well. So ask yourself this. This is what I want you to ask yourself. I'm going to try and convert you right now.
All right, let's hear it.
You ready? Is getting world buffed before Naxx the way the game was meant to be played?
Well, no, I'm not playing the game at all the way it's meant to be played. I think hardcore would be insane.
So by what you just said, the way you described it, you're not playing the game that you would want to play it.
However, we're talking, but I think time saving is like a big factor in the fact that I can save time.
True.
We also, I also start raiding at 11 p.m. my time. So I need world buffs to get done as quick as possible. Yeah.
But can we also talk about the fact that, Yip, you are 100% grinding your Paladin, not doing any quests on your way to 60, which is
it's efficient.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
However, if I wasn't
it?
making content with it, I would not do it.
But they all have to stream.
Okay, but they
all have to stream their hardcore challenge because it has to be on tape.
Hardcore is content. Yeah.
So
but it is like less. Okay.
The thing with hardcore for me specifically, and I'm not saying it has to be the same for everyone, is that it brought life back to a game that I was about to quit. Because
for a lot of people,
in the community aspect, if I was playing hardcore by myself, I would not be playing WoW. Right? It's the community.
You're playing hardcore on a character, and you're raiding on a different character.
Yeah.
Correct?
So I raid with my guild, and I do all the sweaty meta nonsense, and then I use hardcore as a way to. It's going to be weird. I use it as a way to relax.
Yeah.
And get away from the meta.
Escape all
just,
that.
And just enjoy
stuff.
the game. It's legitimately like, when's the last time you picked up a minor health potion and saved it?
Okay, I'm a hoarder.
Right?
I save all my potions.
Like, you get excited. You get excited when you're in the gold whatever mine, Fargo Deep mine, and you kill something and get a spirit scroll.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I got a 30-minute buff, right? Like, it's
definitely
cool.
fun to watch, and like I enjoy it.
Yeah, my paladin grind is like a light version because like I can't buy anything from the auction house unless I made the gold myself and stuff like that, because these sort of restraints make you do more stuff in game. And
exactly. Yeah.
There is merit in the hardcore game mode to being efficient and grinding instead of questing. I played with a very, very, very high profile person that streams daily on Twitch, and they don't ever stream World of Warcraft. Actually, I could check right now. Yeah, they're actually live right now playing Valorant, but they didn't do a single quest in hardcore, and they almost got to 60, but they never died, and they're gonna come back and hit 60 because they played it because the way they did it was they loved the game.
And there's all sorts of cool things to do with it too.
It's
like
so
Duranasaur
fun.
did a hunter no pet, which was neat to watch. And but we could definitely talk about this for days.
Wait. Last thing on hardcore. I know we got to move on. Last thing on hardcore. If there is a class to choose where people will be like, you are the most hardcore.
Warrior.
Of hardcore. Warrior. Okay, besides warrior.
What do you mean besides warrior?
That was hardcore. I already did the hardcore once.
Besides
leveled the
warrior,
first time.
Besides warrior, it's AoE mage.
No.
AoE mage is it's tough, dude.
Yeah.
If you fuck up one time on an AoE mage, you're done.
So, like, will people think I'm cool if I go do that right now? That's my main question.
Nova,
What level
right here.
Can I just start at 20? I don't have to do any crazy AoE stuff like pre-improved Blizzard.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Another really difficult challenge is when you limit class spells. So there's now achievements on the hardcore site where you can, for instance, level a mage with only using fire spells the whole way up.
Interesting.
Which loses all of your escapability and all of your survivability because you can no longer ice barrier, you can no longer use frost nova, anything that slows an enemy. You're basically just casting fire spells only.
All right, I love this.
All right,
but let's
move on.
Double dog dare
Yes.
hard point.
I've got to move us on.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so one last question. It was the question I had at the start of the show. I see behind you both the Horde and Alliance flag. You get one choice, Horde or Alliance.
One choice?
Well, there's only two options, so...
Retail or classic? I have to know.
Classic.
Classic.
This pod is all about classic.
Oh
That
man,
was
this
a
is
scapegoat,
such a
you see that?
difficult choice. If it was Horde.
Wow.
Out.
Oh, yep. I could see.
I
the
just wasn't
surprised by this
brow.
too.
I just wasn't expecting it. That's all.
I've played classic. I've played Alliance my whole life. The first time I ever leveled Horde was on the hardcore challenge, and Horde is better.
Yeah, we call this
Wait.
This is called the bias of newness. This is not a real
This is
take.
like old.
This is a big deal.
Horde is
because
better.
Winky on F's on everything is always like Alliance is better. You know, it's just the better faction.
No, I say that Alliance is harder for the Warcraft for the hardcore challenge. Horde is easier.
Oh, so you're picking the easier class? Is that what you're
Yes.
telling me on the hardcore challenge?
So I'll give you the rundown on why I picked Horde for classic WoW. Alliance, you get level locked at 40 and you have a hard time leveling. You have to grind Naga in a cave for a couple levels or do something, right? Grind dungeons, whatever. Horde has the easiest questing 30 through 60 I've ever seen in my life. You have 20 quests in your quest book.
So you're kind of like reflecting on your PTSD from grinding orgs in Arathi or Aldrich Mountain when you were 10.
I think the game flows better if you're Horde.
Yeah,
But
I
you have to
actually
live
never
in
thought
mud
about that.
huts.
Mud hut, like the aesthetics
We
of
love our
Horde,
mud
I
huts.
disagree with.
Do you?
If I had to pick a favorite city, it'd be Ironforge because I love dwarves.
No,
but-
I totally agree with this perspective. Like for hardcore, I can understand how Horde is better because it's like my camping thing. Like sometimes it's fun to get on Horde and sometimes it's fun to go backpacking in the wilderness. Of course, it's not where you want to live, but it's fun to dip your toes into it.
So Horde, not only that, but Horde gets Oni buff and War Chiefs,
I know.
which is ridiculous, right? For
It's just
classic,
unfair.
even for rating.
It's unfair.
Secondly, the meta is to go warrior in classic, and I am a meta breaker. I hate the meta, but that's the meta, and that will always be the meta. And what's better for warrior?
But it
Wind
wasn't
Fury?
in vanilla.
Listen, I
Wind
remember.
Fury.
It wasn't in vanilla.
I do remember in
because
phase
we didn't
one.
have world buffs, so
But-
like warrior wasn't meta. Rogue was.
Okay,
I don't
in
cares about that,
vanilla.
Bob.
But Wind Fury. Wind
Boomer
Fury,
talk, dude.
all
Boomer
you-
talk.
Literally, all you have to say for which one is better for classic WoW is Wind Fury. That's
I remember.
it.
Yeah.
I
And then
remember looking
GG,
at
you win.
on my alliance,
Salve,
my
dude.
human warrior.
Kings, dude.
Salve
On my
and
human
Kings are
warrior, I
nowhere
looked at both my
near it.
Deathbringers, crying to myself that I wasn't an orc.
Yeah,
I had two Deathbringers, just like, what am I going to do with these?
Well, okay, yeah, we can go there too. If you like rogues and you like warriors in your raids,
We have to move on to speed remedy.
Okay, last point. Horde,
All right, cool.
Horde has a reason to use axes. Alliance doesn't.
Correct.
Horde has an easier time looting in endgame raids. Alliance has a harder time because everyone wants swords.
Yeah,
Just
that's
saying.
true.
So every reason you like Horde is because it's easier. Let's move on.
Yep,
Let's-
Horde
Yep.
is easier.
Yeah, let's take that.
I'm taking the easy way out.
So we're actually playing hard mode on Alliance. That's cool.
All right, so we're gonna move on to dungeon speed running, and these guys both work on the team. But I'm gonna give the floor to Duranasaur to tell us like a quick rundown of the scene that he created. You know, way like if you want to get the full story, you should definitely check out episode 14 because he comes on and he had just started it. It was new. It was exciting. Definitely check that out. But give us the quick rundown of what you started in Classic.
Yeah, so I think it was right around the end of Phase 4, maybe beginning of Phase 5. I started what is called Classic Dungeon Speed, and it was a community of people that were going to speed run dungeons in Classic WoW. And I wanted to create, like, I had a Discord server, and I wanted to get people just, like, even attempting it, even just, like, trying it out. Like, go into dungeons with your mains, you know, bring some consumables, bring some world buffs, and actually push the boundaries of what you can do in dungeons. Because we were seeing people do it in raids, like we were seeing people attempt speedruns of raids, but no one was running dungeons at a high level. No one was actually seeing, like, what's the potential here? And people I think saw dungeons as like it's a catch-up thing, right? Like, oh, you run that on your alt, you get it some gear, and then you bring it to raids, and then you forget about dungeons again.
Or you're forced to run other alts through with your main to carry, right?
Exactly. So I wanted to bring life back to the dungeons in Classic WoW, in vanilla. And so I started this community, and at this point, I've put on 3 different competitions of speedrunning dungeons. So we did Skullomance, we did Dire Maul West, we did a full Stratholme, and then we also have leaderboards for all the different dungeons. And it's something that I was super passionate about. And I always, in the back of my mind, was thinking, man, TBC is going to be where this can really take off because of heroics. Because you have dungeons that are actually geared more towards people bringing their mains, right? Like, because heroics have, you know, the badges, because they're, you know, once a day, because the difficulty level is higher. Like, TBC is where this is going to be, like, super fun, super cool to actually challenge people, like, do it for speed, like, actually push, you know, what we're capable of. And So that was always something in the back of my mind as I've been doing all this stuff in vanilla. And I think like I've been trying to find people throughout the course of the vanilla who are also interested in this stuff. And I actually had like a pretty rough time finding people that, wanted to help with the community, who wanted to help with production, with casting, with events and stuff like that. And so I was super fortunate that at one point, because I knew Winky through hardcore and stuff, he and I started talking and he was like, hey, I want to do this thing in TPC. And I was like, that's perfect. I want to be working with people who want to do this thing and I want to do it in TPC. So he was like, okay, here's my idea. And he comes at me with this like almost fleshed out like potential website idea, like just so many great concepts and so much great like potential content that I was like, you were the person who I've been looking for throughout Classic. Like you were like, this is what I've been.
Where have you been all my life?
Exactly. So I've been working with him, and we are working on Dungeon Cleave. So that's what the website is. It's www.dungeoncleave.com. And so it's sort of a rebranding. We're going from Classic Dungeon Speed to Dungeon Cleave. And I think it's better because it's going to encompass more things, I think, than just, maybe just like classic vanilla.
Before you get to that, though, I want to hear about like at least one of the classic competitions that you reran. Like what Twitch was it on? Was it on your Twitch? Like what? Like, just kind of run us through one of those competitions and what it entailed.
Yeah. So I hosted all of them on my Twitch, which is just twitch.tv/Duranasaur. And so the last one I did, which was, we probably had the most like high profile guilds. It was a full Stratholme. And I think we had 8 or 9 teams, and we had guilds like Goosey, they were well-known speedrunning guild in Classic. They kind of like, I think they stopped doing it during AG40, but then Zoo is one of the top horde speedrunning guilds in the world, and then a few others. And the full Stratholme, I think that it was crazy to me how fast they did this. It was actually incredible. I think I allocated for each team somewhere around like 20 to 30 minutes. And these teams started busting out. I think the first team that went did like a sub 15-minute run of a full Stratholme. So they went in, most of them went in and did Undead side first, like got to Baron Rivendare, killed it, and they were at like somewhere between like the 5 and 8 minute mark. And then they backtrack through and head over to live side. And by the time they get to live side, you're thinking, wow, they have to clear all the way into the cathedral to get to Balnazar. And they like open the cathedral doors and they use like nifty stopwatch. They use invis pots. They use invis trinkets, and they end up only having to kill like 2 trash packs inside the cathedral before getting to Balnazar and killing Balnazar. And it was just it's this incredible feat of, oh my gosh, if you actually, pull out all the stops and you go into these vanilla dungeons with a group of 5 people that are in bis gear, using consumables and world buffs and trinkets and other things. Look at how fast they're able to do this and trivialize the content. But also, like, these things take a lot of skill with timing and stuff too, right? Because, like with invis trinkets and pots, like if you do something wrong, like if you cast a spell in the middle of an invis pot and break your invis, like there goes the run type of thing.
Like us 5 couldn't go in there and do it in 15 minutes right now, right? Like, not saying you guys aren't skilled. Like Bob, me, and Yip, we just, that's not our level.
Well, like, it's a totally different
Yip
skill.
Did beat a record that someone beat an hour later. So
that is true.
Just
that was pretty funny. But it is like a different skill to develop as well too. So you can't, no matter how good you are at raiding, if you won't jump in and be the best at this immediately. You have to learn the dungeon. You have to learn everything.
Yeah, and that's like the highlight of that competition was actually, it wasn't even the first place time. I think the fastest team was like sub 11 minutes, but the second fastest team, they were, in my opinion, the coolest run, because what they did was they entered on the Undead side, and they sent one rogue to live side, and the rest of the team went to undead side. And that one rogue stealthed all the way to the cathedral, opened the door, stealthed all the way through the cathedral, which meant at one point they had to like actually engage a group of mobs in the cathedral, and they used like goblin rocket. They, I think, sapped into like a vanished goblin rocket helm blind, and then they had to use like just the exact amount of time they had left to open the door inside the cathedral to then like skip that pack and like pop whatever the ability is that resets your cooldowns to vanish again. Like got all the way to the final boss in live side while their 4 other teammates cleared dead side. And as their 4 teammates made it to Baron Rivendare and fought him, that one rogue went in and soloed Balnazzar.
No, that's awesome.
And it was, we were rooting so hard for them because we're like, this is the most impressive thing that we've ever seen at a full Stratholme. And they ended up losing by like 11 seconds or something. Like it was so close.
You're like, can I just give you like a, minus 12 seconds for just the effort and creativity you had there? Like,
yeah, it was like, that's when I was thinking about classic dungeon speed or dungeon speedrunning in general, it was that kind of stuff that I was just like, that's where I wanted to see. I wanted to see that level of ingenuity, and they delivered. And like to this day, I'm like, that's peak. That's what I want to see, like moving forward with everything that we do.
So since Winky has already called Alliance easy mode, do you see that more Horde or Alliance like groups get better times or better things? Like, do you see a difference?
So the big difference, it actually comes from what buffs are available. And so I'm actually hosting what will probably be the final vanilla speedrun competition. And I had to put a rule in that said that Horde could not use Camp Tarajo buffs because they make a massive difference. When you're talking about speedrunning stuff that's like 10 minutes or less, a lot of the Camp T buffs are like 5 to 10 minutes. And they're things like increase your move speed by 20% for 5 minutes, or increase your armor by like 20% for 10 minutes and stuff. So that was something where the winning team from that full strat competition, like every single person had like full Camp T buffs in addition to all the other world buffs that are available. And it was very clear that, okay, if they hadn't had like that set of buffs, they don't win that competition. And so moving forward. What are
Camp T buffs? Are they only Horde?
They're only Horde. So Camp Tarajo, south of the Crossroads. There's a quest that you do with a Quillbore that's like he's stuck in a cage, basically. Like he's been caught. And he sends you to get these blood shards, and they drop off of mobs, or if you mine in the Barrens, you can mine them. And you turn them into him, and you turn, like, he has a bunch of different options. So you can, I think, get like 6 buffs from him. You turn in these blood shards, and you can turn in a certain amount to get a speed buff, a certain amount for an armor buff that's percentage based. And it's a Horde quest, so only Horde can get them.
And it's repeatable.
And it's repeatable,
part. So you can do it as many times as you want.
Yeah.
So maybe Horde's easy mode, just saying.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, Horde is easy mode. That's why I like it more.
Jeez.
Alliance is hard mode.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard this take, and I love it. I'm just rolling.
I know. I'm eating it up. If you can't tell.
If you've got to 60 on Horde in hardcore, kind of a
that's you.
I'm not saying it's not me.
It's like an asterisk, right? You've got an asterisk by your name there.
Yep.
Jeez. But yeah, so that has been my big highlight from the Dungeon Speed community thus far, and that's what is lit a fire under me for what we're doing with TBC moving forward.
Well, and what I'm excited about for TBC is basically the reason. I mean, if Chrono Boom would have been a thing, like maybe it would have been a little different, but I still just don't know if I would have wanted to use world buffs for these competitions. And now in TBC, with buffs getting purged as you walk into dungeons, this becomes something that so many more people like me will really enjoy participating in. And I think that's really cool. So I'm excited about that.
I feel like I'm going to get kicked out of that group.
Oh man. That's part of why I wanted to do it so bad. It's because the bar for the entry to speedrunning is drastically lower in TBC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone that there's a couple reasons. Everyone wants to do heroics every day, right? You want your badges. You want to clear the dungeons. You want to play with your friends, whatever, right? Whatever your reason is. People are running heroics every day. And if you're not going for the world record time, right? If you want to see your name on a website, click the record button and post your time, right?
Also, just being able to see other people's ways of being more efficient, I think is really helpful. We talked about that last time, right? Where it's like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to speed run this, but I can at least see these clips of like, well, that's brilliant. Why didn't I think of doing that? Like, maybe I'm not going to invis pod all the way to the end, but I can skip this mob by doing this. Like, taking those different things, I think is super helpful.
Yeah, it's meta. I mean, it's not retail with Mythic Plus. There's like a certain amount of trash you need to kill and things like that.
So I can comment on that too if you want. I've had an update on that. I don't even think I've gone over that with Duranasaur yet.
Oh wow! I was just gonna say though that it's actually meta to do this. Like, no one. I mean, I don't want to say nobody, but a lot of people who have normal jobs will not be able to do every heroic every day. It's just not super feasible. But it's actually meta to try to get these done as quick as possible. It's not the same as like, oh, let's go do Strathhome because we're bored. It's like, we have to do this anyway. Let's do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, they want to do it and they want to get it over with and they want to do it quick and be efficient. It's funny you brought up Mythics because I've been recently talking to Keystone Masters, which is the speedrunning Mythics group. And they are going to be supporting us moving forward with Dungeon Cleave. So
very awesome.
I'm not sure how far that support goes, but it is nice to hear that we have homies on the retail side that have been through the gambit and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I think they can help with is the rule set.
Yeah,
because that is a huge point of contention. Everyone I talk to about it says, "Well, what are you going to do about druids? 5 druids."
Speaking of which, why don't you guys explain about the rule sets that you're like kind of going in with right now, the tentative ones?
Sure. I'm not sure actually. We're talking about it in the Discord. We have a Discord available. If you go to the website, you can join the Discord and jump in on the rules discussion. Right now, I could tell you what I would want. I'm not sure if it's what Duranasaur would want.
Oh, hit me.
I think that the runs start with a raid warning. You count down 10 seconds or whatever you're going to do. And you click record and you start your time at 0. And then as fast as you can get through the dungeon is as fast as you can get through the dungeon.
Oh, no rules.
Yeah, and if we have issues with 5 druid stealth runs or anything of that nature, you just put that into its own bracket called any %, like any other speedrunning website would do. And then you've got full runs and any % runs, and we can have that defined by how much trash you're killing or whatever stipulations arise. The problem is with making rules is it's so difficult to foresee some of the crazy things people are about to do in these dungeons.
You end up making rules retroactively, right?
Yeah.
Which is not helpful, right? Because it doesn't help the last thing that you're making the rule for. And maybe it affects the next dungeon in a different way that you didn't anticipate.
You kind of might have to, like, you don't have to make the rules retroactively, but you kind of have to look back because it could turn into a thing where just the meta is 5 druids because that's the way you skip the trash. Exactly. I think that's where Warcraft logs like drew a line in the sand with their Naxx speedrun changes where you had to have a certain amount of mobs killed and their site could track that. And that was a way that they could do it.
speaking of Warcraft logs, is our website currently talks to Warcraft logs. You can link your Warcraft logs on your speedrun uploads for review and verification. And there is always the opportunity for us to utilize Warcraft logs as official times.
Yeah.
As the runs. Another thing we're doing right now is we're working with Keystone Masters to try and develop a Blizzard approved rule set. So this will not only be approved by the community, because I'm a stickler when it comes to community, and so is Duranasaur, and it's not fun unless the people that are playing it are having fun, right? So Blizzard might say this is what we want, and the community might say this is what we want, and I would be more comfortable going with the community.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but it's cool to have some rules people, some people that have already been doing the dungeon heroic speedrunning with Mythic Plus, and bringing them on board to help.
For sure.
But I think it'll be cool.
You guys are going to do both heroics and regular going into TBC?
It's an option. I think heroics are going to be more interesting, which is why the focus is on
Probably.
it.
Yeah. There's going to be more longevity, I think.
Let's be honest. The people that are looking at doing speedruns are probably looking at doing heroics.
Yeah, because I mean, you're probably not having a whole lot of speed running dead mines runs.
Well, what about level 58? Blood furnace runs. I want to. How fast is that possible?
Well, and there's always the option to open up the leaderboards to have regular and normal. Right, it's literally copy and paste the code and write normal instead of heroic. So it's not. It'd be like a 5-minute thing. We could do it. It's just kind of community outreach. We need to get the majority of the onset community members in one place and take a poll and see, hey, is there any interest in this? And if there is, we can move forward with that too. But right now it's heroics and raids primarily.
Oh, so you are going to do raids. Okay, so that's new.
Yeah, the raids are on the site right now. I figured we would mirror Warcraft logs for that and just have the official raid times posted there, as well as the links to the VODs, because that's one thing that people are going to want.
Yeah.
Right.
That, I guess, would be the big difference between us and Warcraft logs, is that we want the community engagement, and we want the community to kind of feel more connected. Like the VODs are a big part of that, like sharing what you've done and being able to see what others have done without having to search through like a Twitch VOD or find like a random guild's YouTube page.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems for me throughout Classic is just finding what streamer in that guild put their speed run out. I mean, I really don't care to look at the Warcraft logs. I look at that to improve my game. I want to see what you did.
Yep.
And it's been a definite battle for me to find a place to find all of that.
Well, the annoying part for me, and part of why I wanted to do this, was that, and me and Duranasaur have talked a lot about it, is just the bar for entry for raiding speedruns is so ridiculous, right? First off, you need 1 billion gold, right? We're at the point where for retail, Method is borrowing gold from every player on the servers and paying them back in the future, right? Like you need unlimited resources to be considered for World First or anything near the sort. And in Classic, it's like the same 5 guild that are just dominating everything. And unless you're in one of those 5 guilds, it's almost impossible for you to get started and take over a spot on the leaderboard, because you need 40 other people that are like-minded. And half the time, if 20 of your 40 people are interested in high-level gameplay, instead of creating that themselves, they just go apply for the guilds that are already doing it.
Yep.
But whereas with heroic dungeons and a lot of the TBC guilds with the smaller input for raiding or the smaller raid sizes, anyone and their friends can go, oh, well, I want to do this. I want to do it efficiently. I want to get my badges fast. Let's just see where we're at. And like the potential for upsets, right? Some random team of 5 men is just going to walk into a heroic and dumpster the #1 speedrun record is insane.
The only reason I would ask you to do the regular dungeon speedruns is so that, like maybe we would be the only people that would enter that. And then I could be at the top and feel good about myself.
We could do that just for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
You.
Yeah.
Done.
If you want, I'll do it right now. I'll go to the
Just
website
be like,
and I'll just
Mel's
put Mel.
team owns.
Yeah. I'll put Mel's team on every single dungeon in the game. Not only that, but TBC has 13 or 14 heroic dungeons?
Yeah.
And Classic has like 5.
Oh yeah.
Maximum level
There's
dungeons.
not a lot.
Yeah. So TBC is where it's at. It's just going to open up the door. And Duranasaur's been doing it this whole time, and he's got the experience and the expertise. And I'm just some idiot behind a microphone, but it works out. And we both have mustaches. Where could you go wrong?
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
simple.
I could go on that subject way longer, but we're just going to let that one go.
Yeah. I don't have a mullet yet.
Okay. So you're, like
I'm
halfway
half of
there.
Duranasaur. Yeah, I'm half as good.
Yeah. You're like half as good is like a really broad
half
term
of
there.
something.
I'm half of something. I guess I should word it. I'm half of something that I wish I was. I'll put it that way.
Okay. It is all in your power to grow a mullet. I'm just pointing that out. Like you could.
I'm wearing a hat for a reason.
Bob disappears for 1 minute.
No,
We're
I'm not.
talking about mullets. That's just how we go. I just wanted to
This
say
is
that
how the show goes if
on,
Mel hosts.
on the 40-man speedrun point, it is literally impossible. I consider our guild to be pretty decent. Like we're pretty good. Cannot get these people to attack the same target. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. You just can't do it. There's 40 people. Some people have Spotify on. Some people are like, it's not possible.
I think my guild's pretty good, and I'm clearing it in twice the time Duranasaur is. Weekly.
Yeah.
Man,
I
think my guild's really good.
Same.
We're like more than double the world record.
Yeah. It just keeps going down.
So tell me what, like, typically, like on average, not like your best run, not your worst run. On average, how long does it take you to clear Nax, both of you, with your guild?
2.5, 245 hours.
We're 2.5 only after Chrono.
Yeah.
Because we bottle our buffs.
I would say
later.
we're 2.5 without Chrono. We're just god awful at rebuffing. We're just
that's
we are so slow.
We're just in Stormwind for 30 minutes hanging out.
Yeah.
Like trash is what
bad.
slows us down. Trash and trash skips are what absolutely kill our runs.
Well, we've gotten to the point where unless we're actually going for like a verified run, we skip as much as possible. Like we'll skip stuff knowing that like, oh, the logs aren't going to count, but we don't care. Like,
okay, but so with all that, how long?
I think our run yesterday, I think we did it in like an hour 35, hour 40.
All right, guys.
Cutting
I'm going
an
to transfer
hour.
to Duranasaur's guild.
Yeah,
here
right?
pretty soon.
We need priests. Yeah.
Mel's going hard. But
really
okay,
good.
we do have to wrap it up, but I want to leave it with one question to
We'll talk later.
to Duranasaur. You've created a community now. What's it felt like to be the guy that started something really cool, like the Cargos with the hardcore challenge? What's it feel like to be someone who started something and actually like made a difference in WoW Classic?
Yeah, and you couldn't have done it without us. Don't forget that part. So tell us all about it.
Episode, what was it, 14? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
14, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like maybe it just like doesn't feel like I started it because like I was just a guy who was like, hey, let's do this thing. And people were like, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that thing. Like if all those people hadn't said, yeah, let's do that thing, I would still just be a single guy like trying to do something. So,
But somebody's got to say, hey, let's do that thing.
So
Right?
you're saying you're single.
Well, I think that attitude is why you can help make a community flourish too, though. Like some people
For sure.
are adverse to other people having any sort of like credit or involvement that puts them similar to them or higher than them or anything. So that sort of thing can kill a community right off the gate.
Yeah.
Well, and I think even how they mentioned in the Discord right now, there is a rule discussions channel, right? It's not just like, I own this, I'm your boss, listen to what the Almighty says. It's, hey, we're a group, we're a community, we want to listen to each other, we want to help each other and make this the best thing that it can possibly be. And what's better than, you know, having your community freely chime in, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I'm really excited about where it's going to go with TBC, because I think we're going to turn like a big corner. I hope that we will, I guess. And so maybe if I'm on again in like, 6 months or something, I'll have a better answer for you, just like a well, now that I'm at the top sort of answer, because right now it feels like I'm just a guy playing games and
chugging along.
It's King of TBC. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and maybe it'll always be that way. Maybe it'll always just be, no, we're just playing the game. We're just trying to find ways to have people play the game and enjoy the game.
I think it's more like surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right? Like surrounding yourself with like-minded people that want to enjoy the same type of content you do. And I feel like that's what Classic gave us. Classic, whereas Vanilla gave us the same thing, right? It's all about the community. It's all about the people you meet along the way. And I know that sounds cliche, but that is what we love about Classic, that I don't play retail, but I have heard that falls off in retail, right? You don't have that same community feel as often. And I think that the more that we can kind of hold on to that and cherish that, I think the better.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think you sell yourself short. I think that you've done something amazing, and I am extremely thankful to have had you on the show early on and now again, and we have become buddies, and I love this whole community thing, collaboration, and it's been cool, dude. All right. We got to end the show out, guys. Like, this has been a crazy show. We had some major Twitch malfunctions, and so I don't know how the YouTube video is going to go, but we're going to end it out now. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. We want you to tell us whatever you think on Twitter, or if you want to send something longer, you can do that to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to join our Discord and interact with the hosts of this show or any Mash Those Buttons show, you can do so by going to mash.gg/Discord. We live stream normally Friday nights on twitch.tv/mashthosebuttons. Follow us on Twitter to make sure that you don't miss when we go live. How can you help the show? Well, you can tell your guild about the show. You can tell everybody in Stormwind or Orgrimmar. You just yell out, "I love Warcraft Reloaded." Hopefully you don't get chat banned, but if you do, we will appreciate your sacrifice. Oh, and then ratings and reviews. You guys keep coming through with them, and we appreciate them every week. All right. Pitt, where can we find you?
Hello, you can find me on Twitter at Cognitive Pit or on YouTube at Cognitive Pit also. Feel free to also spam that in trade chat, I guess. Go ahead. Go get muted for me.
Do it.
Go ahead and spam it. I make Paladin grind videos and some TBC grinding videos, and apparently a hardcore mage now. So we'll
Welcome.
go check that out.
Sweet.
Welcome.
Sweet. And Mel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mel Overwatch, or you can find me on Whitemane at Mel Arena. Please don't spam my name. I don't want all that attention. That's all. You can whisper me.
If Mel and I ever do duo hardcore challenge, you would see a cat fight of epic proportions.
If you watch them TBC quest, you'll probably see a cat fight of epic proportions. But
Oh man.
It's because Bob's stupid. Like, I just want to get that out there. Please move on.
All right. Winky, where can we find you?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Winky or Twitter Winkypotamus, which is POTOMUS with a Winky in front. Wink.
Awesome.
I just winked at the camera.
Yeah, I liked it. Really made the moment.
Duranasaur, where can we find you?
I think the main place would be twitch.tv/Duranasaur. I'm also on Twitter at Duranasaur24. So I was the 24th one, I guess.
Perfect.
And if you want to find both of them, dungeoncleave.com. That's dungeoncleave.com. Mark it, save it, bookmark, favorite, whatever browser you use. That's dungeoncleave.com. It's going to be big, guys.
Yeah, join the Discord too. There's a link to it on the webpage.
Also, I might be crazy. Winky did not give his YouTube after complaining that the YouTube viewership is not the same as Twitch.
Listen,
I wonder why.
My YouTube is primarily Diablo 2. That's why I didn't do it. So
The F's in
That's
chat
okay.
are
It's
on
probably
there,
because of
okay?
us. Like it's a little embarrassing. You're just like, oh, should I
Okay,
say
YouTube-
anything about
YouTube
these?
slash
There's like
Winky
100
Potamus.
hours of F and chat on this YouTube.
there's a lot of
There
F's
is.
in chat on there. But if you look at it, there's like 60 to 100 views on the F's in chat stuff, and then every Diablo video is like 3,000 to 5,000.
exactly
Well, it's because they
why.
don't know where to go
Exactly
to get
why.
it.
It's
Yeah,
all
chat.
It's all Diablo. YouTube is Diablo, Twitch is Warcraft.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay.
For all you up and coming content creators out there, separate your audience. Just don't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Don't
the
do
base
that.
rule.
Keep
The
them
base
all
rule of content
separated.
creation.
We
Yeah.
have the
And then
same
regret it
problem
later.
on our Twitch.
Yeah.
We have the same problem on our Twitch.
Also,
all
join,
right, well-
join the Twitch and mash that button or mash those buttons
Yeah.
and come watch this live, people.
Definitely,
Please,
definitely.
please. This has been a great show.
Us, yeah, we'd loved having you. So if you want to find me, it's on Twitter, Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me streaming here and there on twitch.tv/BlazinBob.
Usually arguing with Mel, but that's fine.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 It's like friendly arguing, right?
Friendly enough.
Thanks for listening to a Mash Those Buttons production. If you enjoyed the show, you should check out mashthosebuttons.com and see if any of our other shows might interest you. All of our shows are available on your podcast platform of choice like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. If you enjoy our content, you can help support Mash Those Buttons by becoming a patron at patreon.com/mashthosebuttons, where you can receive Patreon bonuses for as little as $1 a month. You can connect with Mash Those Buttons at twitter.com/The Mash Network, facebook.com/mashthosebuttons, or join our Discord at mash.gg/discord.